regular meeting of the Pueblo West Metropolitan District to order.
Roll call. Read.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Brianne Mignoni, District Clerk. Director Pasternak.
Here.
Director Potter.
Here.
Director Roberts.
Present.
Vice President Axworthy.
Here.
And President Vickers.
Present. Approval of agenda. Can I get a mo-
Before we do that,
Oh.
do you mind if I take that second to explain why the agenda looks slightly different?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so this is, I know, I sent an email to the board to give them a heads up of this, but for the public, what we did and what you'll see on the agenda is just a slight change of order of things. And there's gonna be a meaning behind approval of the agenda that we'll talk a little bit about, but historically, we've gone through action items, discussion items, and then our strategic discussion, action into long-form discussion. In essence, we've flipped that around. Part of why that's important is we want to be able to have those long conversations to identify what are those strategic positions, policies that might come from it, and we will then take and work on. But the action items themselves, in our schedule, what it does is we have discussion items first, and then 2 weeks later, we have action items. Oftentimes, we found ourselves rehashing some of the same discussion cycles in that second action. And so what we ended up doing with that action item is it currently combines that and the consent agenda items, because all those items there, whether they have previously been discussed and they have discussion for it and are ready for action, or they're the normal consent agenda items like financial statements or things that can typically be approved, they're all within that section. And the intent is when we get to that item, a motion can be made to approve all those items within that section and move through that just as expeditiously as we can, having already either discussed or being non-controversial. The only thing about this, what I would like to do is make sure that if there are any items that we want to take off when we approve this agenda overall, if we have an opportunity to do it now, that way we can remove it for people who would otherwise know that they're either here to speak if it's taken off, or they know to follow up next week. We do have one item that we'll ask, which is item L1 to be taken off, which is the lease agreement for the dedicated parcel for the driving range extension. Do not currently have the final draft for that lease, so we're not ready to take action on that tonight. So that's a lot to cover, but I'll stop for questions before we go through that.
And
Next.
also, wasn't it,
Sturgis?
also the Sturgis?
Yes, I appreciate that. So, as we're talking about this, we are trying to conform more to Sturgis, which is our approved parliamentary procedure that we take inspiration or guidelines from. Anytime we don't specify something in our bylaws, we typically fall back to Sturgis as how we do our procedure. Typically, as we look at items, we will make a motion to act on something, and that can open up discussion. We are going to be reviewing a little bit, and I expect another step towards, I think, getting to exactly closer to Sturgis for it. But this is more closely following that discussion to action format, and eventually that action and discussion taking place at the same time. So this will comply and be more adherent to that as we go forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's probably tweaks and refinement as we
Yes.
experiment with this and go moving forward. So with that said, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item L1.
So moved. I make a motion to,
He did.
oh, he already did
We
it?
just need
A second.
That's another thing we need to talk about with Sturgis. Sturgis does not require a second, but I know we're used to that. Okay, I have a motion seconded to approve the agenda with the removal of items L1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll have the invocation by Mr. Robert Hernandez, Pueblo West Fire Department Chaplain.
Good evening, everybody. Please bow your heads with me. Father, we come before you tonight humbly. I pray that each and every individual here tonight came with an open heart, ready to accomplish what is needed for tonight's meeting. Let us always be careful to do what is noble, honorable, and right in every situation. If it is possible, let everyone here tonight depend upon you that we will live in peace with everyone and continue on doing what is good for this community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you all.
Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Pasternak, would you lead us, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
next up, we have public hearing pertaining to the amended budget by Karen Cordova, our finance director.
Good evening, President Vickers, Vice President Axworthy, and board members. This evening, I come before you in public hearing presenting the amendment to the 2025 budget. I believe this portion is the public hearing portion.
That's correct.
So at this time,
Is there anybody here that wants to speak for or against the budget amendment? Seeing none? You have anything to say, Christian? Okay.
No,
All
nothing
right.
to add. I know we covered it at the last one, so.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
Just for the public's awareness, you want to give us a synopsis of what this is all about, please?
yes. Let's see. Back in the summer, after the 2024 audit was completed, we calculated the excess Tabor revenue from 2024. And at that time, I requested that we transfer the $1,861,321 from the general fund to the capital projects fund. And then as we approached the end of the year, we realized we had an additional $323,000 in operating costs that we needed to increase our general fund operating budget by. And so the total of those two requests will increase the general fund expenditures $2,184,557. So it increases from $92,427,115,000 in the original adopted 2025 budget to the amended appropriation of $94,611,672. And that is the request at this time.
And that $1,861,321 goes to the Tabor timeout for the pool, is that correct?
That is the excess, so it transfers from the general fund to the capital projects fund for the aquatic center.
Any questions?
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Okay, Arnold. Okay, next is public comments.
Good evening, Board of Directors. We have one that has signed up in person, and it's June Sharon. I hope I pronounced that right. Did I get it? Oh, okay.
I pronounce it Sharon, like the
Oh,
girl's
Sharon.
name.
Okay. And she's talking about street paving, correct?
Yes, I'm,
Would you like to come up to the microphone, please?
not really, I
No?
think I'd like
Okay.
to talk loud enough.
Okay.
Thank you. I've several times have tried to get someone out to get the corner of Joe Martinez, Walton, and Bird Drive fixed. I don't know why the fire department, the police department haven't complained, the rescue squads. These holes are so deep, there is no place for us to go up other than on the dirt of the land. Maybe somebody with a little more authority than us who keep calling in on it can do something about it. Somebody's gonna get hurt, somebody's gonna get sued, because there's gonna be cars that are having broken axles, tie rods, whatever it is that's gonna confuse them. I noticed a rescue squad coming the other day, they literally had to ride up onto the grass so that they could get to the people they were rescuing. Maybe please, would somebody speak up for us who pay our taxes to get this road fixed? Thank you for listening.
So I'm sorry, that was the corner of Joe Martinez and what?
Joe Martinez, Bird, and Walton.
Bird and Walton,
Walton, Joe Martinez, Bird, and Walton.
and that's BYRD, right?
BYRD.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perhaps we can have Christian reach out to the county once again. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Director's comments. Let me start with you, Mr. Axworthy.
I don't have any other than, I feel your pain, and I've filled my share of potholes by myself.
Well, I've had neighbors trying to fill them. First wind that comes up takes it away, first person who drives over it with a big truck and a trailer behind it,
Yep.
wipes them out as fast as we can pour something into them.
Yep.
It really needs to be taken down. I mean, there is not a place that you can ride without hitting a pothole,
Yep.
literally.
Yeah.
And it's getting very dangerous. We have kids who get picked up on the school buses right there. And if we threw a child out of a bus seat, I can guarantee you, some parent would be really raising heck with them.
Yeah, I'll try to check it out tomorrow. That's it.
I know I've had people contact me about Selene. There's a big pothole up there on Selene. So hopefully we can get some movement.
It's like they forgot the mobile home area. You can't ride around anywhere down there and have a street that, I take that back, Dante was done sometime or other. A street that they guess is figured is worth more than our China and the mobile home park.
Mr. Roberts, any comment?
Well, we're well into the new year now. My last comments at the last meeting is this is gonna be a new year of accountability. And unfortunately, Colorado's got another black eye with Pueblo having $10.2 million in a budget deficit. I can only imagine how that's gonna impact Pueblo County as a whole, let alone the Metro District in fulfilling their requirements that we have with them. It appears that the employees are gonna be furloughed. Unpaid holidays is a suggested avenue to approach minimizing the deficit, but I think it came to about $1.3 million that would cause in relief to the deficit. Although we didn't get the $10.2 million overnight. Pueblo County's fiscal budget year starts in July. So they knew something back in July of 2025, and we're just now hearing about it. But I want to let the Metro District residents, our taxpayers, our constituents, know that when we went through our budget, we are not in the red, and we're here to serve you. Thank you.
Mr. Potter?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Mr. Pasternak?
No comment. Thanks.
And I don't have any right now. Moving on to the introduction of new employees.
Good evening. So I'm Louis Vigil, the HR generalist. I'll be introducing the new employees. To my right here, we have Walter Maddox. He is the EMS Administration Manager. We hired him on January 12th of 2026. He comes to us with 20 plus years of paramedic experience. And he's an Army veteran, and he is a firefighter with the Metro District a little bit of time ago.
And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Louis Vigil?
Oh, you're a new employee yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, I started in August.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
That is simply amazing how
Who is this
Jessica
guy?
Pink just passed that, she passed the baton right there.
Yeah, that's
didn't
it.
It makes it super easy if they
Alright,
all just
well,
introduce each other.
You two welcome aboard.
Awesome. Thank you. We have one more here.
Yeah, we should have another one. We have William Pankey?
Yeah, he's getting pulled up.
Oh. Any relation?
I would imagine.
It's not loading for me.
Not blood.
Not blood.
It's not uploading. I don't know what's going on with it, I'm sorry. It's not showing his picture. So you'll just have to discuss it.
Okay, well, William Pankey, we hired him as a utility maintenance technician. He was hired on July 5th of 2026. He has a bachelor's degree from CSU Pueblo in business admin, and he comes to us with 6 years of mechanical experience from the Pueblo Chemical Depot.
And that position with the utilities maintenance, does that fill in the vacancy that we had there in 2025? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you.
Next is our strategic discussion, 6A fire sales tax strategy and approach discussion by our fire chief, Mr. Brian Caserta, Matt Lund, Director of Business Administration.
Good evening, Board. President Vickers, Matt Lund, Director of Business Administration.
And Brian Caserta, Fire Chief.
We're here to be a part of the strategic discussion on strategies towards fire department funding permanency, which is in our strategic plan as the district, an item that affects a lot of the operations we have. And so we're just here to report out on the early stages of our pursuits for that. We have been meeting with staff and with other interested parties to discuss possible ballot measures for 2026, understanding that as a district, our responsibilities and our roles to interface with any campaign is very strict, and our role is to provide facts such as they are and ultimately let those facts represent what we believe may be fruitful for the district. So you have a staff report there showing a little bit of the history. The 6A fire sales tax that was passed in the 2020 election cycle was a temporary 1% sales tax that created a specific fund, and those funds were to be used for explicit fire department purposes, including the construction of Fire Station number 2, and that is set to sunset in 2030. So the district is exploring what it looks like to have fire department funding permanency, and that's the initial gist of what's happening. As I mentioned, Chief Caserta and I have started meetings, and we are putting schedule together to discuss what that might look like as we go forward. And I believe this is, as a strategic discussion, a time for the board to ask questions of us, of Chief Caserta, because he knows everything that I don't, and I know maybe some things he doesn't, so we'll start there.
Questions?
Since we have Chief Caserta here, do we want to move?
No,
Not yet.
nope.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep it on the fire sales tax.
All right, we're going to keep it in the order that it's in then. Thank you.
So what kind of tools did you have in your toolbox for the temporary sales tax that made it succeed, that you can replicate for this one?
I think community outreach was our biggest thing. Staff, as well as staff's families, were very proactive in the community. I can recant several evenings sitting in the conference room at 63 Spalding, making phone calls, sending text messages about, what we were trying to accomplish, directly engaging the community on what it would mean for the district, the fire department, and the community's emergency services at large. So I think that was huge. Again, we did other public relation on in-person events where we had folks outside of Walmart, folks outside of the Safeway complexes, things like that, where we could answer questions and engage the public. So I think those were very strong benefits. And of course, we have the typical, I guess you would say, the typical campaigning kind of stuff, like the banners that businesses were willing to put up in front of their, their establishments, flyers. We had yard signs made. We also had developed handouts that explained what the money would be going to specifically to the folks, and that way they had something referenced.
So what's our timeline look like for campaigning and outreach versus the actual, the ballot?
So we are meeting actually with our core group on this Friday, after this Friday, the 20th. And part of what our deliverables are going to be coming out of that is building out a master calendar. We have the election calendar. Not all of those dates apply to us, so it's going to be scrubbing that for everything that's relevant, looking for where events might overlap, looking for advantageous times to have certain communications. Again, anything official from the district is gonna be based in strictly facts. The nice thing is that we have a wealth of evidence to point to as far as what the existing funds that were used through the 6A fire sales tax. It might not have that name for any future ballot measure. So anytime I say 6A fire sales tax, referring to the 2020 measure. We have a lot to point to that we can definitively say came back into the community. We can do analyses, and we've discussed doing analyses on the improvement of response times, which is life or death in some cases, and highlighting that the funds that we've gathered, and again, sales tax being applicable to any transaction that sales tax would be collected for. That's not just Pueblo West residents, but anybody spending dollars here in the community as well. So anybody visiting Lake Pueblo State Park in the summers, all of that goes towards funding this initiative. For what it's worth, there have not been any discussions internally or otherwise about increasing any tax. Tentatively, any discussions have been about preserving the existing tax, which would be no increase whatsoever.
Yeah, we think it's pretty key that the residents understand that this is not an ask. We had heard comments already that from the public that said, well, the fire department already got their 1%, now they want another 1%. We need to make sure we're clear to communicate that with the public and the residents, that this is just an ongoing 1%. It is not a new 1% on top of what we've already had. And what we're asking for is it become a permanent tax without a sunset.
So would you say that a 1% sales tax would continue to allow you to improve your infrastructure or maintain your infrastructure for several years to come, versus a half cent would just basically maintain your staffing levels?
Yeah, I would really like to see after the forecasting that we've done and after what we have been able to accomplish in this last 5 years, in keeping the quality equipment that we have, as well as staffing is obviously a huge portion of that, and we're still not there at the staffing level that we should be. So that combined, we use up 95%, if not sometimes 100% of that annual revenue, because of course it's not a constant, right? It fluctuates. So having that somewhat of that cushion, I guess you could say, would be really advantageous for us as a district and the fire department as a whole.
And I would also add that being able to maintain what's been established, we feel is important. But also at all levels of the district, at the high levels of the district, we are exploring what it means to see Pueblo West continue to grow. And we're exploring what it means to have what we need going forward in the future proofing, and not just having what we need for today and finding out it comes up short 10 years from now.
Yep, thank you. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, if it's okay, just to add, because I think it was a fair question, that half-cent sales tax probably doesn't just make it a situation of maintaining what they got. It's probably less than even what they're maintaining what they got, looking off the budget numbers of their personnel costs. Because if you think of that 3.8, half of that for 3.8 being the revenue of a 1% sales tax, half of that being 1.9, and even on the 6A side, that's 2.4 million personnel expenses. So even that half cent would be less than just maintaining what we have. The full 1% does help facilitate long-term capital investment to make sure that you don't have to continue coming back to ask for more, just to make sure you maintain your fire trucks as they are and your stations as they are.
Yep.
And just for this conversation, I will share a little bit of conversation that came internally. We're preparing to come in March, talk a little bit more specific strategies after that meeting and prepare discussions with the board. This opportunity was very much to get ahead of it, to make sure that if there are questions or things or anything coming up that the board's considering or has questions about, starting that earlier. So this is a little prelude to what we'll be talking about next month.
Good.
So, next, at our next briefing, would we hear what precipitated the 1% sales tax originally? What are we looking at moving forward without it? How that impacts the budget, how that would impact the budget, the general fund budget? Can we look forward to some figures and numbers and,
If you'd like to, we can prepare that. I don't think the intent, I think as we covered it during the strategic plan, that's part of where those numbers and those figures came from, but we can revisit it if you like.
I think it's part of the, I think it's part of the campaign information that we need to
Yeah.
disseminate, right? So,
right.
Yeah, to say the effect of that, but to discuss, I guess, are you saying for the board's process or for the education
For
campaign?
the board's process and also, for their information, and most, they're new, but, sustainability, I guess, if the plan moving forward is why we really would like to see the 1% extended and the necessity for it. Okay.
Sure.
It's more than just a want.
yeah,
That's what I'm getting at.
Gotcha.
and compare
yeah.
sales tax with our neighbors and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be key. We're still much lower than City of Pueblo.
And I think it's important, it's a more or less, a volunteer tax to some degree. You can elect not to purchase something if you don't, if you feel that strongly about not contributing the 1%, you don't have to purchase it, whereas a mill levy increase of that magnitude is not, and everybody doesn't get a chance to participate in it. With the sales tax, like you said, it's really a broader spectrum of who can contribute, so. Thank you.
Christian, in regards to the lodging tax for special districts, have you heard anything from the county?
I have not. My
You haven't
understanding
gotten back
is,
to me either.
my understanding was it's elective if they choose to provide it to anybody besides the county or if they withhold it themselves, and I have not heard.
That's just for hotels and such, right? Yeah, so we wouldn't be making a whole lot on that anyway.
I can't hear you over here.
Sorry, I'm mumbling, I'm tired. We wouldn't be making a whole lot on that anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got, one lodging, we've got some B and Bs that people are running out of their existing homes, so. But, still something that we should have some sheer numbers on, percentages and numbers. It was an ask about 6 months ago, and we still ain't heard anything. All right, thank you.
Anything else, guys?
I look forward to the calendar. Can we get that distributed after Friday?
Sure. To whatever degree we built it at that point, we'll get it to you and we'll.
Whenever it's ready.
Yeah, it's Thursday, it might be an ongoing,
Okay.
calendar, but yes, we already have a pretty solid foundation, and once we have this first meeting on the 20th with the core group, we can certainly send that out.
Chris, you had something?
Yeah, is there any way to move, like, say, wages, salaries from that to general fund, as opposed to the tax? At this point? Or do you just have to repeat what we already have?
Are you asking if, as now,
Just
it
curious.
stands, if approved, or if we didn't have it, would we move the 6A salaries to the general fund?
Yeah, like, let's say we're gonna do the 1% sales tax, put it on the ballot. Are we able to manipulate what is on that ballot? Meaning, whatever it's currently funding, can we change it?
Yeah, from operational costs to infrastructure and
Yeah.
capital. Yeah.
You can change the ballot language. As far as the breakdown of what 6A is currently funding, it's majority personnel costs. That's how they got the 15 firefighters or so, and
Yeah.
obviously the capital infrastructure over time. To take that 2.4 million, I don't think there is room on the general fund side, just take them there without dropping or losing something or changing something. Because they're, the majority of the fire department, when you look at their operational expenses, about 85% personnel, because the service is the firefighter.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about, could it be possible to do the 1% sales tax to be more focused towards their personnel and operating expenses, that's also possible, but the freedom to be able to do all three of those things for the general fire department might be the best way to approach it, so that way it can cover all the expenses without losing anything that would be specifically set aside for the fire department.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, Okay. That's it.
That's it. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next is discussion item K, which is the rules and regulations updating the water rights dedication by our new Director of Utilities, Mr. Kevin Niles.
Can you have the presentation? Okay, thank you. Good evening, President Vickers, Board of Directors, Kevin Niles, Director of Utilities. And I'm here with my fellow utility staff, Jeffrey and Elisa. This presentation outlines a proposed update to the district's rules and regulations regarding water dedication. These changes are intended to modernize our approach, replace the outdated 5-acre rule, and better align development review with the realities of water demand and long-term resource protection. The proposed revision supports the district's strategic plan, ensuring we protect current and future water resources while allowing responsible and sustainable growth within Pueblo West. Next slide. Go back one, I'm sorry. One more, okay. The purpose of these changes is fourfold. First is to replace the existing 5-acre rule with a more accurate and equitable method of evaluating development impact. Second, to better protect Pueblo West's water resource in alignment with our strategic plan. Third, to create a fair and consistent evaluation system for all new developments. And finally, to formally clarify the documented practices that we have already been in place but were not previously codified in the rules and regulations. Next slide. Again, we're going to talk about water dedication. This slide outlines when dedication of water rights will be required. The proposed language expands clarity to include inclusion into the district, extraterritorial services, subdivisions, planned unit developments, rezoning, lot line changes, and any process expected to increase water demand beyond our current allocations. This ensures that any development action that could be responsibly increase demand is evaluated consistently and contributes appropriately to the district's water portfolio.
Can I ask a question real quick, Mr. Niles, on extraterritorial water service, what is that? Is that somebody outside the district?
Yes. Previously in proposed water demand report. Previously, a water demand report prepared by a qualified engineer was required only for commercial projects. The proposed update expands this requirement to nearly all new development except for single-family residents. This includes duplexes, triplexes, multifamily, commercial projects, and developments that take more than 3 years to complete. This ensures we base allocation decisions on professional engineering analysis rather than on our assumptions. Next slide. Water allocations will now be directly tied to engineering prepared water demand report. This provides a technical and defensible basis for determining how much water is developed and expected to use. It moves the district away from generalized rules and towards a data-driven allocation that reflects actual anticipated usage, improving fairness and accuracy. Next slide. This proposal allows commercial developers working on multiple adjacent parcels to combine water allocations into a single consolidated allocation. Provided parcels share boundaries and each parcel contains a primary structure. Without these conditions, allocations remain separate. This gives flexibility to commercial development while preventing manipulation of allocations across unrelated parcels. Next slide. Next slide. To ensure the accuracy of submitted demand estimates, the district will actively monitor actual consumption and compare it to both dedicated water rights and the engineer's demand estimate. This creates accountability and ensures the projects are realistic and aligned with actual usage patterns over time. Next slide. Overconsumption enforcement. If usage exceeds the allotted amount, the district will bill an annual lump sum fee at twice the highest tier rate for the customer class. If overconsumption occurs in 2 out of the 5 years consecutively, the district may require additional water right dedication. This provides both a financial deterrent and long-term corrective mechanism. Next slide. Next slide. Several new definitions are added to eliminate ambiguity, including development, dwelling units, multifamily housing, renewable water rights, single-family unit, and state commission. These additions ensure consistent interpretation and application of the rules by staff, developers, and the board. Next slide. The proposed standardized minimum tap size to 3/4 inch for single-family residents and 1 inch for all developments. This also requires meters to be installed in public right-of-ways rather than in private properties. This improves accessibility for maintenance, monitoring, and long-term system management. Next slide. This classification specifies a request for cash in lieu of water dedication agreement and only available to commercial development and must be approved by this board. This prevents misuse of the provision and ensures it remains a strategic tool rather than a default option. Water resource classification. This clarifies the dedicating water rights allows a developer to avoid the water resource fee associated with purchasing a tap. However, it does not eliminate the requirement to pay the tap fee or plant investment fee. This distinction ensures cost recovery for infrastructure while recognizing the value of the water right dedication. Is there any, at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding these proposals, updates, and if there's support the long-term water strategy and sustainability, fair development practices, and alignment with the district strategic policies.
Do you know how much one of those, what are they called? The water demand report, do you know how much one of those costs?
I don't know. I mean, they could range anywhere from a few $1,000s to $10,000, I'm assuming. It's really depending on the needs of the client.
So I had one question, with some of the changes. How does an accessory dwelling unit fall into your definitions?
The accessory dwelling units?
Yeah, ADU, is that what's called, ADU?
ADU.
Thank you.
Did we account for ADUs?
No,
Yeah,
So I know we've been questioning what to do with those, correct? I just wanted to know where they would lie with these changes.
we did not figure out ADUs.
Okay. And then, this is just my curiosity, but I'd love to hear from home building and commercial development contractors to gauge the impact of these updates.
Yeah, we can try to reach out to them and see if they have any comments or concerns.
Just get a feel for it.
Which ones are you concerned with? Which ones would you think?
I don't know what the cost implications are, that would be passed on to the consumer. I don't know if it's gonna slow growth to a crawl. I don't know, I really don't know what the impacts are really gonna be, because I'm not a contractor, I don't deal with that
Yeah,
business, so.
The biggest impacts is we're changing the 5-acre rule. That's the biggest impact. I don't see it
That they don't
really
have to bring
hindering any
water.
development or offsetting any commercial development.
Okay, so none of the changes really impact
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
costs that would be passed on to the consumer?
No, sir.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. On the overconsumption, can you explain how that works? It says the district will bill a once-a-year lump sum fee for any usage over the allotment at a rate of 2 times the highest rate. How's that calculated? I mean, how, is that assuming they use the highest rate every month for a year? On all the water they've used?
Elisa can speak more to that, how do we determine
Thank you.
that?
Hi, Elisa Velasquez, Water Resource Manager. So on the overconsumption part, the only part that we billed at the highest rate will be the part that is over their allotment. So up to whatever their water resource report says they can use is within their current rate wherever they sit. Anything above that If they go over that, they're charged the highest rate. If they stay within their allotment, they are not charged anything other than their normal
So
rate consumption.
it's on a per month basis?
So it'll be per year. That's why it's charged as a lump sum, because you're using, some businesses are using more water in different months, less water in other months. So their allotment is per year, and then their overcharge is also charged at the end of the year when we can see their usage for the full 12 months.
Okay, so using this example of 195,510 gallons for a duplex, that's their yearly consumption. So they go over that by 50,000 gallons, 100,000 gallons. Can you calculate what that's gonna cost them? I mean, can you give us an idea of what they're looking at as far as the cost?
Sure, so I don't have the rates in front of me, but if you pull up the rates for how much a duplex is charged for water, I believe they have their own rate tier. Jeffrey might be able to correct me.
Say it's $595,
Yeah, so that's
1,000.
what they're charged per thousand. So if you take whatever their overage is, 50,000 divided by 1,000, 50 units over, and multiply that by the unit rate.
Which
Does
that
that
rate
make
looks
sense?
like $11.56. Sound about right?
Yes, 1156.
So that times
11.56.
50, so you're looking at 500 plus
And that would be just a one-time charge.
Yeah,
lump sum.
at
2
the-
years, 2 years in a row if they go over. If they go over more than 2 years in a row, what happens?
Then we ask them to bring their dedicated water rate.
That's kind of, that's kind of after the fact. What happens if they can't do that? I mean, we know how hard it is to get water. And so you've got a duplex that's built, or say a large commercial complex that's built, that now you're demanding that they bring water, and they can't find it. What happens?
I think that'd be something we would tackle at the time. It doesn't say they have to bring in water, it says they may have to bring in water. Dependent on if we can give them resources to use less water, if we can get them to a certain point where maybe they're providing a cash option or they're increasing their limit in a certain way. I think the whole goal of this is to prevent them from going over in the first place by estimating correctly to start with. And I can state that Aurora Water has a very similar program to this, in which they require a water demand report. And they recently reported that they hardly have any people go over because the stakes are high for going over. And that's kind of where we're going with this. We're hoping people estimate correctly. They hire the right engineer, they do the background research, and they're encouraging their residents or the commercial business to use the correct amount of water according to what their estimate was in the first place.
So I just want to clarify. We're talking about residential and commercial?
No,
Just commercial.
Just commercial?
it's
Okay.
it's residential,
duplex.
yeah, not a single family home, but duplex, triplex, multiplex.
Okay,
Commercial.
so what's the exception to the rule? Water line break, it's not discovered until the water usage goes up?
Yes, we currently have rules in place for water main breaks getting refunded, so that would continue in this situation. It would not be counted against them in that way.
Okay, but they're responsible for the lines running to through their property, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what, there's a break there? Not the main, you mentioned it.
We have a service line regulation as well, where we will fix.
We can offset their billing
Yeah.
based off if they have a need, if the situation, we're understanding, we're not gonna hold them accountable for something like that. Now, if it's a continuous situation where they're continuously having a leak that we're aware of, then yes, we're gonna hold them accountable. But if they have a main break or a line break between the meter and their development, then yeah, we can work with them.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out there so that way the public knows, our commercial businesses know that we're not trying to strong arm them.
No, it'd be the
Okay.
same thing that we would do for a residential customer.
Okay, sounds great.
So, I would suggest it would be advantageous to try to come up with at least a thought of how you would handle that down the road instead of waiting until it happens. That's all.
We're open to recommendations
Yeah.
from the board on that as well.
Okay. The other thing is the minimum tap sizes. So single-family resident is 3/4, so does that mean that they can purchase a 1-inch or 1.5 or whatever they
Yes.
want to spend for a water tap?
Yes.
Okay. And the cash in lieu is only, it's directly related to the water resource fee, correct? So the developer can ask for cash in lieu instead of paying the water resource fee that's required? Is that what, those are tied together, correct?
The cash in lieu is directly related to a water dedication. The water dedication fee is a part of the tap fee. The words water dedication fee are tied in with the tap fee. The cash in lieu is tied with the water dedication itself. So if a business needs to bring in water because they're over their allocation or over the set allocation, or their subdivision inclusion, all those things that require water to be brought in, that's when the cash in lieu is an option that can be brought to the board.
So instead of bringing water, you can offer them cash.
Right.
But the water resource fee is applied on the tap fee.
But the amount of water you're requiring them to bring in is based on the amount of water they're using, correct?
Correct.
Which is sort of related to the water resource fee. They just don't want to pay that, so that,
The water resource fee is a set fee for all, for each tap size.
okay.
Yeah.
That's it, all I have. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next is Mr. Caserta, Fire Station 1 building project.
All right. Good evening, President Vickers, members of the board. Tonight, we are back to discuss, from the previous board's directions, the two options, getting some final numbers from our architects at RS&H, and kind of somewhat doing a side-by-side analysis of whether or not we want to continue with the possibility of the renovation as one idea, or the standalone building addition to the fire station out Hans Peak.
Could I stop you right there for just a second?
Sure.
So, I'm a little bit confused because I thought that this board had already taken action to direct the designer to move forward with the standalone building, and that we had already approved the payment for the difference in cost.
That's correct.
To have that done.
I think that this was specifically requested as an update by a board member. I think they're providing an update. I don't think there's anything inaccurate about what you said.
Okay, so I requested that update. It's been about 3 months since we had RS&H here. They showed us the design they had with the breezeway. We liked it. We moved on it. And I'm like, okay, where are we at now? Are we in the engineering phase of the foundation? You
Hi,
see,
I'm
so-
Sherry Reed, Project Development.
So
Go
if
ahead,
you-
Sharon.
yeah, let them provide it.
So you approved the concept plan, so we reached out to RS&H to provide us with a proposal for the engineering plans for that concept plan. So that's what we're bringing to you today, is that cost for the design engineering of the detached building. The renovation still has to go from a 60% set of plans, 75% to completion, if you wanted to bid those both out at the same time, which is what we went back through transcripts, and that's kind of what we thought you were asking to do, was bid both the renovation and the detached addition at the same time. And so that's what we're bringing to you is the cost to get to bidding phase for the renovation and the cost to get to bidding phase for the addition. So that's what we're here to present.
I don't think that that's, I'm, maybe there's a misunderstanding, but I thought this board moved to move forward with the standalone building and not even work on the
That is not my understanding. My understanding of the last one was pay the bill for the last design, and then the question came up of you will have a design for that, which there's a little bit more to talk about for it, but the standalone building for itself was a concept that then has to be translated to an actual contract that RSNH was identified as, hey, we'll move forward with. They're working on the contract to bring back to the board for that, but we don't know your determination of it based on cost, which way you would go forward. If the cost of that contract for the RSNH standalone building was $400,000, the design cost indicating maybe $4 million, for instance, would that be more costly than doing the renovation that was at $2.2 million? That had not been established by itself, so they were finishing the design of one, starting the design of the second, and the question that's been raised since is now you will essentially commit to 2 design projects for 2 design costs. As it was asked for an update, I don't think we were at the time final of ready to present for it. I don't know if we've essentially allowed those numbers finalized before we're ready to do it. I think we wanted to provide an update of where we're at in that process, offer, I suppose at this time, an opportunity to dissect if we were misunderstanding something. But the idea was that once those were coming to fruition, coming back to the board and saying, hey, here's the contract for that standalone building, it costs X. Do you want us to continue moving forward knowing that these 2 projects are here, or do you want us to go which direction?
I thought the cost for the renovation was $2.4 million roughly.
That was the budget. It was about 2.28 million for the total cost. What was approved at the last one was, I believe, 77,000, just to finish paying the bills of what had been spent. It wasn't the final contract documents. There's still, and it was talked about the last, the meeting prior to that, which started all of this, which is how are we going to take that to final contract administration documents for it, and there's still a cost to do that. We're at that point that once we get the second standalone building, whatever that costs compared to finishing this one out, are we still moving forward with both and potentially putting both out for bid, which was my understanding after the last conversation, or not?
So my understanding was that we scrapped the renovation. We didn't see any point in sinking 2.4 or better into a remodel when all we're doing is just moving the furniture around. Okay, which means we have to bring everything up to code, but by doing the standalone, okay, as we were presented approximately 3 months ago, option B, okay, would provide everything, and pretty sure we had a motion on the table. I think we had a motion on the table.
I thought that's what we did, but.
So do we want to make this an action item tonight?
Excuse me, directors, may I jump in? I'm looking at the November minutes. Would you like me to read what was?
No, I'd rather watch the video myself later so that I can see what, because sometimes I don't think the minutes reflect exact what was going on. I'm sorry, but they're concise, they're cut down, they're not exactly what the whole conversation was, so. I think there was 5 of us, at least initially, there was 5 of us that thought we had already settled this and moved forward with the construction for the standalone building.
Standalone.
So I don't know where the confusion came out.
I was completely under that impression as well. I don't know about everybody else, but that's what my thought process was. We were scrapping the other design process, paying off what was needed to pay off of that situation and moving forward with the standalone.
With the new
Breezeway
design contract for the standalone.
So I think we should look at whether video minutes, just to determine if there was a miscommunication in that. I think the resolution, even in the first one, was talking about finishing the contract documents for the renovation, and there was a error in the potential of that final amount. That's where that 77,000 figure is, and that's what we were looking at. We have been going the past couple of weeks to make sure we understood it. That's why we're at that conclusion. So if there has been a miscommunication, it may not have been articulated in the meeting, and we just may need to clarify it. But I can share this, the standalone building has been, standalone has been intended to move forward to represent that contract. That hasn't stopped, we're not moving off that. We might be even in a good position because we haven't spent anything further on the previous, the board decides, if they hadn't already, that we're not doing anything with the renovation. But I can share that it's not been the understanding from what we gathered from the minutes, the resolution, or cognition.
Because I remember the designer standing back there and admitting that a standalone building would be less expensive than an addition.
And we are excited for him to talk more about that when he comes back.
I think that motivated the board to move forward with the standalone.
So if I could ask, if the designer comes back and says that's not likely, or if he opines that it's going to cost more, that might be something worth having a conversation about.
Maybe, but we're getting back into the same boat that we're trying to get out of. And that's the architects and the engineers directing how much money we spend. We're trying to set a system up that we can get a set of plans drawn without costs and take it out to bid and let the bidders estimate costs. We seem, in all these projects, we seem to always work back to the same thing, is that we're having the designers dictate what costs are. And I thought we were trying to get away from that.
Do we want to put a motion on the table to,
I don't think you have a contract.
No, we don't have.
we do on option A,
That was the redesign, or the
the
renovation?
remodel, the renovation?
We don't have a contract for either at this point.
We don't.
No.
So I think to sum it up, and what caused the initial spur and the reason for the board to tangent away from the remodel was we were gonna be spending the 2.4 million or so on a remodel, only to spend another large sum of money a few years down the road to do what we need to do as far as expand. I think all of us said, why kick the can down the road? Why spend all this money on refabbing a building that's old and bringing it up to code? Why not just build the building that we need and the space that we need? And that's really,
And repurpose the old admin portion of it.
yeah, do what you need to do without needing to spend all the money to bring it up to code.
I'd
or
rather
whatever you're gonna
sink
do.
2.4 plus into something that's gonna get us 20, 30 years down the road with accommodations.
I don't,
Dan.
yeah, and I don't think we would be upset if the bid came in more than the renovation, because you'd be getting exactly what we need. Right? I understand?
That's correct.
Our problem with it was, why spend all this money on just a retrofit if we're gonna turn around in a few years later and spend even more?
Yeah, to your point, it was a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
It truly was.
yeah, and we were spending it because we had it, which I understand, but,
Can I add one,
Sure.
just for
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
context of why it's been cycling, is that if the if the standalone costs more or in excess, I think if it was like $4.5 million, you won't be able to complete it within the next 2 years, likely, as you're building up the funding for it. So then that idea of being able to address the fire safety issue was why the Band-Aid, that short-term solution, was proposed, because it could be accomplished with existing funds. So that was as far as why it ended up being in that cycle.
We understand why, but it just didn't seem feasible or logical to do that,
Sure.
especially when it's been renovated several times before.
So,
if we're averaging an excess in Tabor and we have the money set aside for the aquatic center already, then we can simply budget a capital expense on the fire station one out of general fund, potentially.
No, that's it.
so with, in retrospect, we don't want a renovation, remodel, I don't care how you classify it. We want to move on with the standalone building, with a breezeway. I'm speaking for myself. When I say we, that is my consensus of what this board decided. Okay? Now, we have been working on the renovation remodel since, let me put my glasses on, 97? No? Hold on. 2021? And here we are in 2026. And we're going backwards. The time machine is going backwards in conversation. So to be point on, I think this needs to be an action item. We need to clarify what our expectations are as a board, what we don't want, and what we do want. And then we move forward from there, establishing a new contract with RS&H, a renewal, I think it was. And let's get this thing going.
Yeah, if I can say, I'd agree making that distinction tonight about abandoning the remodel renovation would be helpful, because otherwise we do have to come back and discuss where that's been left at. Just to clarify though, the 2021, the reason it's been working on is because there hasn't been the funds for it, and we are just now in the stage where we have funds to actually spend on some of these projects. But I also want to make clear that nothing has stopped us moving forward from the board's action about moving forward with a separate building. That's still been on the plate. It's just been that, are you going to reasonably have both designs complete moving forward? That was the miscommunication itself.
My expectations would be at this point that we wouldn't be discussing a remodel or a renovation, and we would be focused on an option B with a standalone building with a breezeway, and we would not have to incur any code upgrades because those would already be built in. So that being said, that's a cost savings in itself, and it gives us longevity in a project which the community could appreciate that would last 20, 30 years plus. So I think we need to establish what options we want to go with, what we don't want to go with. That way, for the record, we're not going backwards again.
Because he did present a plan, right? I mean, I remember seeing a plan.
Concept.
He
The concept.
gave you a
Concept, yeah.
concept plan as you
Uh-huh.
requested, that's correct. And then I believe if you look at option B and the final cost estimate to bring those up to get them ready for bid, was, what, 300,000?
Something like that, yeah.
That's correct.
See, the whole idea of bringing him on or continuing them, bringing them forward to the new project was their familiarity with it. And hopefully there was gonna be some cost savings with them remaining the same as the designer. Quite frankly, if we haven't done anything for selecting a designer, so $366,000, that tells us that they're planning on that building costing around $4 million. And I just think that's, how big was it? How many square feet?
What, 48 or 5,400?
42 something,
Something.
4278.
Yeah, okay.
I got all my stuff out in my truck. I don't have it right here.
I don't know, it's just kind of frustrating, guys, that this is where we're at, and,
Yeah, 4266 is square footage.
so I would be willing to say, let's scrap the
No.
remodel and.
No, don't, yeah,
and
scrap,
the
sorry.
remodel.
I thought you were gonna say scrap the design, I'm like, no.
Scrap the remodel
No.
and move forward with the standalone building.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would second that.
So we're gonna take action on that?
Takes
You wanna make a
it
motion?
takes a motion.
I thought you, okay.
Oh, I better.
I'll make a motion to remove from the table the remodel plans, and move forward with the freestanding building, Plan B, was it?
Wait, option B, yes.
Option B
Correct.
For Fire Station 1.
for Fire Station 1.
I second.
I have a motion seconded to scrap the A option for the remodel and move forward with the option B, standalone building. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Apologize for the confusion.
Sorry for
but
the
that's what's been
confusion.
holding us up.
That's essentially where whether it was tonight or another, as we got the final documents, what we're coming to propose is that it doesn't make sense to do both.
Right.
So whatever the clarification came from, it's appreciated.
All right.
So we'll come back at the next board meeting with their agreement and an action item to approve that.
The contract.
Resolution, yeah.
Thank you.
And let me just throw this out there. What if it comes in for far less than what the 10% of the design cost is? Are they willing to rebate that?
No, they probably won't. But we'll be
We've had that discussion.
I mean, because this is basically is a dormitory with a kitchen, showers, correct? I mean, it's not a strategic fire station that has to have everything that a fire station has.
Soundproof
It
walls?
has certain code items. You have a set of showers for decontamination.
Sure.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's not,
It'll still have to meet all of those standards,
Yeah.
but.
Frugal.
okay.
Frugal.
Yeah. Let's go.
Frugal but operational.
Thank you.
Yes,
I don't know,
thank
is there, anything- are you here for, you want to stick around?
No, I'm just waiting.
I think, we're good if you're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, so we're at the, 3, lease of district property to Martin Marietta.
Good evening, President Vickers, esteemed board, Marcos Reyes, Economic Support Specialist. Before you is a discussion item. In 2025 November, Martin Marietta approached staff requesting the possibility of leasing a lot to use as a contractor yard in support of a CDOT bid. We were advised on January 6th that they did in fact get the bid. Currently, it'll be a 1 acre lot, which we will charge them $6,000 for the year, with the ability to increase the lease for 6 more months at $500 a month. The current location in your packet will be behind Big R.
Watusi.
Yes, right there on Watusi. So there will not be, with the exception of trucks that are being staged there and things like that, there's not going to be a lot of trucks. There will be a temporary pad. And also the only power will be a commercial generator that basically will only be used whenever the office is going to be staffed.
What are they gonna be parking on there, Marcos?
There's not going to be paving trucks, but I would have assumed that there's probably going to be maybe some front-end loaders, things like that, just things that are going to be used to resurfacing, because what their contract is they're resurfacing the 50 to the county line.
Yeah, that's what they put out at the PACOG meeting,
Yeah.
starting in the spring. That
Yes.
they were gonna start that 50 to Fremont County line. I mean, McCulloch, Highway
Yes, sir.
50 to Fremont County line.
I mean, so it could be anything from literally a pickup truck to maybe a front-end loader. I don't know what they use to resurface asphalt. So, but they are not planning on storing the ground-up asphalt there. That's actually going to go to their yard because they're going to reuse that to actually redo the roads.
Would there be wording in that to reclaim it if there's any,
There is.
anything?
There is wording in there at the time. They supplied in their letter. Upon completion of construction activities, Martin Marietta would prefer to leave a stabilized pad in place for potential use by the district or a future developer, should that be acceptable. If the district prefers the site to be returned to its existing condition, Martin Marietta remove all placed material, restore the area, reseed disturbed ground, and return the parcel to close as pre-existing condition as practicable.
Yep.
Yes. So there, currently as it is it's also in the lease that if we want them to return it, they're gonna return it. Now, of course, let's be realistic, they'll seed it and everything else. It may take a year or two for it to look exactly as it does now, but that is your discretion. So when this becomes an action item, there will be language in the lease. You can relate to us that the board would prefer them to remove the pad and not leave it there. There could be some uses for that potentially. If we do a cleanup or anything like that, and we want to bring that cleanup out of 280 and move that, but that could be something that staff could discuss. We would have a few months to potentially even bring it to the board to get a discussion going on there to what would we do with that pad if it was left there. If there's nothing that would benefit the district, then we would just have to remove it.
Is it concrete or is it?
No, it's gonna
just
be,
a rubber
it's
pad?
gonna be the ground up asphalt,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I'm all for, I'm all for leasing district property. And I've mentioned this before, we have had other commercial entities in Pueblo West that have wanted to use vacant lots for something, and they are pretty much denied that unless they go through a variance process, but they still have to comply with county regulations.
So.
Which are stringent, and the only concern that I have is that we have a level playing field for everybody's treated the same. We're making special, if we make special, exceptions for one person and not the other, that's kind of flies in the face of what we try to do here.
So I did make contact with Terry O'Donnell, who is the Community Development Manager. And Martin Marietta will be placing temporary buildings or office spaces on there. That would qualify as a primary structure for that. So in that aspect, that will be done. There will be the fencing, they're gonna have to apply, because one of the gentlemen from Martin Marietta sat with me and her. She explained everything you're gonna have to apply, you're gonna have to go through all the steps and all the procedures, still do everything with the COA and also the county. So they were given the information for Pueblo Means Business, which is they'll go through a sketch plan review in which the county will go ahead and address any issues and stuff like that. So they are in fact going to go through all the steps. They are very aware of what all the steps are. This is just securing the land for them to start those steps.
Has anyone talked to Big R? Let them know that this is being considered?
No, I mean, it's behind them. I don't necessarily see this as impacting their business or anything like that. And it would be no different if we sold that property to somebody that would want to put a business there.
No, we're leasing it, it's
Well,
different.
Correct.
What is the zoning though? It's not industrial.
No, I believe the zoning out here is going to be community commercial. So,
Okay. I'm just concerned about
We wanna-
even-handedness.
Yeah, we want to make sure we take care of our current business owners just as much as we attract new ones.
And I'm not sure that, I know you talked to Terry, but I'm not sure, because that property that I have in mind that has had such fits, had some temporary buildings on it that were not considered primary structures. I thought a primary structure had to be something with a foundation. So, that's my two, is that correct, Sean?
No, this would have to go to the committee for, evaluation and approval, and it'll depend on how they view it, essentially. Is this being temporary, it could be an exception, a variance,
So,
exception to the rule as opposed to,
a variance would be
yeah,
applied for.
I would think that might be a better option.
Okay. As long as we treat everybody the same.
oh no, I have zero issues with that. Like I said, if the board would prefer them to go ahead and do a variance, as in, since it is going to be temporary with the temporary structures, then I'm sure they probably wouldn't have an issue with that. So, and if that is the direction that I'm given now, I can go ahead and make that phone call and we can start that process.
Any other questions, guys?
You know the history more than I do. So do you feel that the variance would be the proper way to go?
Yeah, they'd have to apply for a variance.
Okay. So it would be just so the buildings could be considered temporary, everything would be revolved around the temporary status, correct? Okay.
With a variance.
Yes, sir.
Approved by
Yes.
the Committee of Architecture.
Right, that would have, but it would be around the temporary natures of the buildings and stuff like that. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Just discussion, right? You're gonna-
Yes, sir,
you're
this
gonna
is
bring that
strictly a
back.
discussion item at this time.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Do we have a lease template, or does?
Currently, legal is reviewing the lease template, yes. We
Okay.
based the lease originally off of the solar lease that we had just approved earlier last year, I
Oh,
believe.
okay. But Carl will look at it?
He is currently actually looking at it.
Marco's already sent it to me, I just haven't finished
Okay.
that review.
There are no homes on Watusi, right? It's the next street over that has homes on it.
Yes, sir, it's the next street over.
Okay.
There are no homes there.
All right. So they will be driving these front-end loaders from? where's
You
the-
asked what would be parked there, that's why I said I
You don't
don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I'm just imagining things. I don't think that they would put something on the road that wouldn't be allowed on the road. But as far as, like I said, I have no idea what would be used in resurfacing asphalt. That's a little bit out of my purview and my knowledge base. You know, I've seen them when they do roads. There's, sometimes you'll see some of these bigger pieces of equipment on the side of the road overnight. So it's like I said, I offer no speculation on that.
Can you ask them?
I could.
All right. Be nice to know.
Yep, because they just said basically there are no paving trucks that'll be cycling through. So consistent with staging operations.
They're not gonna build a batch plant there, are they?
Well, I hope not. I really hope not.
Still think it'd be good to ask, or at least
R.
notify Big R
Sure.
and get their opinion on it. Because there are other places I'm sure they could do this, besides right next to Big R.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah, make a phone call.
yeah, just
I
be
have no
nice.
problem. Is there any
Appreciate
other
it.
questions?
That's it, thank you.
I got one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Cause and effect. They're gonna be driving right past Big R, making a right on McCulloch, and heading up 50. Are they prepared to improve the damage that is caused to McCulloch?
Yeah.
I'm,
Industrial?
so I don't want to speculate, but I'm sure there's something within CDOT contract that would require them to mitigate any damage that they may do to the roads.
Cause I mean, right now, it's pretty smooth with only one pothole, all the way from Big R to 50. And, I mean, that project just happened, what, a year ago?
I think to ask, huh?
Yeah.
Where they did industrial and then they did McCulloch right there in front of Walmart?
I mean, it's something we could go ahead and ask, but I mean,
Well, I think they need to be prepared for it.
yeah.
I would say they have a mechanism for, with either access permit or right-of-way use permit, if there's any work that's taking place while they're doing construction, that there is supposed to be an inspection done by those road maintenance crews to be able to determine if there are any impacts and then resolve them before they close out their permit, so as long as they're pulling a permit, which they should.
I would
then
like
that
some
should be what the
assurances,
expectation would
to
be.
be honest with you.
And they have certain bondage as well, as far as their insurance bondage.
So, and that brings the question up, so does that mean that we get, added as an additional insured on their liability insurance?
Don't know the answer to that. I imagine if they're the contractor, that they'll just do it, but if they wanna add us to
We can't
it,
leave everything up to.
We would, it'd be county, right?
Yeah.
if we're talking about
But
our
it-
land at any
but it's
point,
our-
yeah,
if
but.
they cause any damage off of our land.
But their coverage would be for the right-of-way use extending out to it, and our property liability would be one we would wanna cover in any contract.
Can we get their documents that say that? I mean, it doesn't hurt to have all the information that you can, so that down the road if something happens, it's like, well, we thought they were gonna take care of it.
I can go ahead and probably make contact with county roads and bridges to see what the county's requirements would be potentially for an access or anything like that. I was going to suggest potentially that before this project was to commence, we probably have somebody from our project management go by, take a peek, and then at the conclusion, potentially go by and look to see if there's anything that the board may want addressed or anything like that. I hate to volunteer Sean for more work, but I think that that would facilitate, at least to the residents and things like that, our commitment that we're not going to cause or allow further damage to the roads. So this would have somebody that normally does these things for us in the district review it beforehand and review it afterhand. And if there's anything there, now considering Martin Marietta does do roadways, I'm sure that it probably wouldn't be a far stretch for them to throw a quick repair if something was to happen, since this is what they're actually doing. So they would have all the material and all of the equipment there. But I will reach out and I will address this with them. And if you would like, there was a official that was supposed to be here from Martin Marietta today for this, to answer a lot of these questions, but unfortunately he had something that came up at the last minute. So we could potentially ask him to come next time.
Or you can get the answer.
Either one,
way,
yeah,
you get
I'll
the
have the
answer.
answers for you, but like I said.
Maybe a moot point, if they're just gonna drive pickup trucks, it may not be an issue. So that's where I would start, is what are you gonna put there?
I think a lot of it depends on what kind of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And same with big R, I mean, they're not gonna want big dumpsters, dump trucks driving by, creating havoc. But I'm sure they wouldn't mind some pickup trucks. All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Moving
Is
on.
that it? That's it, thank you, Marcos.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Next is the resolution approving the amendment to the professional services agreement for the Tenderfoot Water Looping Project. Mr. Kevin Niles, Director of Utilities.
Good evening, President Vickers, Board of Directors. This item requests that the board approve to amend the professional service agreement with JVA, the design engineer for the Tenderfoot Looping Project, to provide bid assistance and construction administration support during construction in amount not to exceed $7,500 from the Water Enterprise Fund. Because JVA prepared the construction documents, they are best positioned to respond to the contractor's questions, review submittals and shop drawings, and interpret the intent of the plans and specifications as issues arise within the field. Their involvement during bidding and construction helps protect the design intent, reduce the risk for delays and misinterpretation, and ensures accurate development of recorded drawings at project closeout. Under this amendment, JVA will assist with bid questions, respond to RFIs, advise on minor change orders, and attend construction meetings virtually as needed, perform on-site visits during construction, and a punch walk prior to substantial completion, and incorporate contractor red lines in the final record drawings. Project development will continue to handle all the day-to-day inspections, project management, and on-site observations and administrative processes of RFIs, pay applications, and change orders. Staff recommends approval and requests this be moved to action items if the board has no concerns or questions.
You're first.
So big can of worms, just like sprung open, right? So why isn't this built into the scope of work to begin with?
Same question.
It was always our understanding, and we've kind of mentioned it, both sides, Metro and board, that was kind of the expectation of a designer or engineer, that they would assist with that, with implementing those items, the bidding and construction administrative support.
It is, unfortunately, when we started the department, some of these projects were started with design. I wasn't exactly sure how everything was going to shake out as we progressed with these projects, and so I didn't include it at that time. We are including it now. So some of these that were coming back now for the additional funding is because I wasn't sure exactly how things were gonna go and how involved project development was going to be.
So from a procurement standpoint, are we doing this with every project? Or are we gonna see one of these for everything we do?
Michael Winters, procurement manager. I would assume that moving forward, if this is what we're gonna do, we would include it first, include it moving forward, so we wouldn't have to come back.
Okay.
Now that we know,
That's the expectation?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you, that's all I wanted.
So, my question is, they're the architect, right, or the designer, they designed this system, they designed the project. I guess I'm confused as to why that you even have to put that in a contract as an addendum, because that, I mean, there's always questions on designs and how things are carried out, and the only place you can go is back to design. Why, I'm just confused as why that this is what they think that this needs to be an additional amount for some reason, because it wasn't explicitly in the contract, but it's kind of implied from a.
But if it's not in the contract, it's not implied.
Right.
So if it's not in the contract, you can't call them and ask them about anything.
Correct.
Oh,
They want paid
that's a
for
bad
it.
contract.
That's
I
how
mean,
they
that's
all are.
standard practice within the industry, that this is a change in scope, so they're gonna require an amendment, or have it at least put in the contract in the beginning.
So chalk it up to lesson learned and
Yeah.
move on and correct it. Good.
I mean, speaking from past experience, it's usually built into the overall contract. So you know that they're going to be providing design services as well as construction services after the design is done.
Okay. Can I go forward with it?
Move forward with them. You guys have any other questions?
I had the same questions as Brian, so I'm good.
Move forward.
Make a motion to approve the resolution approving the amendment to the professional services agreement for Tenderfoot Water Looping Project.
Second.
First,
A motion seconded to approve the resolution for design services in connection with the looping water main Tenderfoot Frying Pan project. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. We got another one?
Yep.
Approving the amendment or a resolution approving the amendment to professional services agreement for Track 337 water main replacement project.
A little more expensive.
Again, President Vickers, Board of Directors, Kevin Niles, Director of Utilities. Again, this is the same type of situation that we have, but this is for Track 337, water main replacement. The item requests that the board approve and amend the professional service agreement with JVA to provide construction administration support for Track 337 water main replacement. This project is in the amount to not to exceed $30,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund. Again, the staff recommends approval and requests that this be moved to an action item if there's no more board concerns.
Any questions?
Questions? This came in under budget, didn't it? The bid?
I believe so, yes.
It did come in under budget, yes.
Okay.
And the reason this one is so much higher than the other is we're working with a lot of unknowns
Bigger
within that
project.
trailer park, with running service lines to each unit. We're not sure exactly how much we're going to need. Hopefully, we don't need very much at all.
So I have to ask. Sorry. Does this $30,000 figure allow for better competition with the other bidders? Are they more, you see what I'm saying? How far was the second bid amount?
Does the 30,000 take somebody else out of the picture that was less?
No, this is with the
This is
engineer.
with the engineer, not with the contractor.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So I make a
The engineer
motion.
bid it too, originally.
No.
Nope, the engineer didn't bid this?
This was our on-call design engineer for, JV's
JVA.
on-call.
We have a contract with them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the resolution approving the amendment to the professional services agreement for Track 337 water main placement project.
Second.
motion to approve the professional amendment to the professional service agreement for track construction administration for track 337. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So I guess I have another procurement question since we're still on the topic. So does that mean we need to update our contract with JVA if there are standing servicer?
We did in November of last year to continue services. This is the last year they can be renewed. So towards the end of this year, we would do another RFP to get an on-call designer.
Okay.
How long was this contract? For that, how long have they been?
3, although they've had it, I think back to back. So might be like 3 and 3.
6 years.
I think it's
Yeah.
since, yeah.
So how does this work then with the state requirements for bidding? If their projects are accumulating more than $100,000, what is it, $120,000 for things have to go out to bid? How does that work? How does that square?
I don't know if you want to cover this, but I'll give it a shot. They're separate projects usually when they're going out for evaluating under one contract for on-call services. That on-call services contract goes out to bid, and there are options to extend it. Once you go through all your options to extend it, if it's 3 years and you get maybe 1 additional year, then you have to go back out for the RFP. But if you're talking about the amount of projects they're doing, they're all separate and considered under that threshold. So it's not like cumulative if they do this wastewater, this water, this other thing. They're not accumulating to that 100,000, they're all separate.
So what if they're under contract and one comes up that's over $100,000?
I think they have to go through the RFP process, but I'm not.
I'll have to double check. Off the top of my head, I thought the bidding was related to construction, not design. Just off the top of my head.
You mean the law?
Yeah, like it's more related to your general contractors constructing, not, it didn't apply to professional services. That's what I recall.
Semantics.
That's the law. Semantics. Ask him.
It's like, yeah, we're gonna get by with something here. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good question.
Chris, I had the same questions with the upcoming contract for the electrical. It's like, seems to me it kind of takes people out of the ability to bid and for us to get our best price. What do I know?
A lot of times renewing contracts will save you money if they keep the labor rates.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next is the discussion of office hours by Director Roberts.
Oh, okay. So let me pull this up here real quick. All right, so reason the subject is official office hours is because on Friday, January 23rd, we had an indoor pool committee meeting here between 9 and 11:15. Okay, very cold, blustery day. Later in the evening, I was on my way to the Tea Palace, and at 4:30, because of an oncoming car and other traffic behind it, it caused me to wait rather than turn left to go down behind Sonic and the car wash to go to the Tea Palace to pick up an order that was going to be ready at 4:30. I noticed that the admin building at 63 Spalding had no POVs, and there was all Metro District vehicles. So I parked in the parking lot, accessed the building, walked the hallways, came back out, did a little video of the parking areas being vacant, and the video's at 4:35 on the 23rd of January. And our office hours are 8 to 5. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's something that needs to be explained here, and this opens a big can of worms. Did we have an early closure? Because I didn't get an email on it. Okay. Was there some communication that the directors didn't receive in regards to employees working from home. Okay? And with that being said, I know we've had a couple of snow days, okay? And they've all ended up on Fridays, so, which makes it a 3-day weekend. Now, here's the thing. We gotta answer to the taxpayers. My daughter's one of those. She's gotta drive all the way to Florence, Colorado to work at the federal prison complex. She leaves between 5 and 5:30. She's at work at 6, no matter what the weather is. So if our taxpayers can be at work where the duty position was established and the people applied for them, met the qualification, was hired for, need to be at that building. So then that brings into accountability as far as how do we incentivize our employees to come to work? Okay, well, I know the school district incentivizes education by only allotting a certain amount of snow days, okay, and then 2-hour delays or early closures. And I think it's a discussion that we need to have, because I don't think we have any work from home positions in anybody's position description. COVID's not here anymore. Life's going on as it should be, but we're still doing the same old thing that we did between 2020 and 2023. And our taxpayers, they want their 40 hours of flesh, whether it's per hour or whether it's salary. So I'm opening up the discussion for any other board members.
I think this is opening up a larger discussion, and I've mentioned to Christian several times, we've gone back and forth over the snow day policies, but there have been a couple of snow days that were called that the roads were perfectly passable. And I've got pictures to document it if you want to see them. So I can echo the same sentiments as Greg. You have the private sector that is going to work when the snow is falling and when it is snowy. I think that we should at least follow the same examples that they do. I realize the county calls snow days a lot. They have a lot of other things that we don't have, maybe people would like, but I think that there's room for discussion as to the what is acceptable and what's not, and how are these determined, and what, you know, this whole discussion would entail. Policy, we have a policy for everything else, so maybe we can figure out what a policy for this would be. But the bottom line is, if the private sector can go to work, I think we should require our people to go to work. It also sets up an imbalance for those that have to go to work, because we're told that the essential employees have to show up. Well, you know, they have to drive in the same snow to get to work. So I think it can develop some bad tendencies if we're not careful with it. So I just think it's something that should be talked about at some point.
And the reason the work from home subject came up, because the same day, we had our designers, Essenza, for the indoor pool, come all the way down from Denver. Okay? And they're here setting up at 8:40 before we started at 9 o'clock. And then we had a couple people that were sick, but they Zoomed in to the meeting. So it makes me think outside the box here. When they say, well, I'm working from home, I'm sick. Well, then if you're sick, we should be using sick leave or FMLA if it's a family member. Okay? We need to properly utilize, as things are structured within our HR department, okay, and use those benefits that you earn as prescribed. But to say I'm working from home, I heard that mentioned on 3 occasions on the 23rd. 2 in a Zoom meeting and 1 in person. So,
So maybe we can schedule it for in-depth discussion.
We can add it for the next one. I can share, you said January 23rd was the date that you want?
at 4:30 when I walked through the building, and 4:35 when I did the video.
So I did authorize an early release that day. I typically have not informed the board of early release authorizations. I usually only do closures or delays. Typically, early release authorizes, this one was 4 PM. Those are typically not affecting too many other services, but I can incorporate that in the future for notification. I know we went through an extensive evaluation and analysis of snow days when they are called, what that cost could be when it comes to missing essential that are showing up, because there is essential pay within our personnel policy that this board approved. There is a policy on who is allowed to be able to make the call for either non-emergency closure or for weather. And that is currently identified as myself. We have gone through a policy to discuss exactly what the criteria is we use to evaluate that. I don't think it was with this board. I think it was just prior to this board taking their seat. Sorry, I didn't know.
I don't remember talking about snow days.
We did. It was a conversation after we were evaluating. I think it was early January of 2025 or early 2025. That's why I don't think it was this board that had the conversation. I think when it comes to remote work, there is flexible work or remote work identified within the personnel policy approved by this board. If it wants to be revisited to talk about it, there is nobody who, as far as I know, that has a job description that allows only remote work or all remote work. That's never been something we've talked about. But it is based on department discretion and directors who supervise those employees and their schedule, what they allow for flexible or hybrid remote work. I know there was one employee that called into the Zoom meeting and identified that they felt sick, but they still wanted to participate. That was an exempt employee, so there's no real concern about what they get paid. There's no challenge for that. Oftentimes when somebody is sick, they may experience completely debilitating conditions, or they may not. And some of those folks who identify, hey, I'm working from home because I feel sick, I don't want to expose other people to it, is typically where we see that value of, they can still do their job, but there might be the question I think you bring up of, are they not actually being able to do their job? Should they be taking their PTO or sick leave? And that could be that part of the conversation too. So just want to clarify that those are discussions. I can communicate any early released authorizes going forward, and I think that addressed what I think I understood.
How do we track how many hours someone's working from home?
How do we track how many hours?
Yeah.
I don't think we keep a list of that. I think each supervisor probably identifies whether they allow it on a regular, consistent basis, meaning they might work Monday, Wednesday in office, Tuesday, Thursday off, to something to that effect. And then there might be the case-by-case basis. I don't think we track it though.
How do you think the Safeway employees get their hours tracked?
I mean, there's we still do punch in, like if there was a non-exempt employee, there's still punch in requirements, and I think there's challenges with Paycom when it comes to those situations, but I think most of our folks who are working those remote work they're more often exempt than they are non-exempt. I had to take a look to see if there are others.
So like those guys that were fixing that water main, that water break out in the cold.
Yeah, those are non-exempt. So they punch in, punch out.
And they don't have the option to work from home, right?
Just like a firefighter would not. So
Correct.
when we identify mission essential, that's why we have the essential pay.
Okay, so if we're gonna hold everybody else to the standard who's exempt or not exempt, well then we need to be able to track their hours. Okay, now we have a security system which was installed. We have cameras, we have an RFID scanner at the entranceways of 63 Spalding, and I think some of our other buildings too. Okay? But nobody has to scan to leave. Nobody has to clock out. So there's no accountability there, but I'm sure we could get a digital footprint of the times in and times out if we install RFID scanners inside the doorways. So those employees who are leaving for the day or going to a doctor's appointment or whatever else they're going to, or a meeting in Pueblo County, okay, scan out and then scan back in when they come back for accountability. Now, I'm not reflecting on anything that's unreasonable because the Federal Bureau of Prisons has a biometric scanner in order to get in and to get out. And why did he come up with that process? Well, let me tell you. There's been so many times that we had riots, we didn't know who was inside. We didn't know how to account for them. But now we can push a button after the biometric scan and the incident kicks off, and we can get a printout. And we know exactly who's inside and who we need to start looking for so we can save their lives. So accountability of our employees, I want to see those RFID scanners on the next meeting agenda, to have those installed. We can have that discussion so employees can scan in and scan out. And if that moves forward to be installed, then we need to have an accountability printout. Okay, so that way everybody's staying on track. Every employee is working equal hours, whether they're exempt or non-exempt. And that's where I stand on that. And that's why I had it on discussion.
I would, I think, like the board's direction on that as a conversation, because I think that does involve assessing costs. A little bit of staff time, I'm not saying that's the problem, but as far as costs associated with installing stuff like that, I'd like a little bit of the board's feedback on it if it's open for discussion. And then just to share, we do have a Paycom digital footprint for people who are not exempt to check in, check out. Their digital footprint might be the admin building, it might be the parks building. They have specific locations they have to show up on site. So to clarify, that is part of our system right now.
But didn't you install that system without board approval?
We had the security system installed to access the building for security purposes.
Correct.
And the risk associated with it, not a tracking system for people and their accountability of whether they're on that
It's
specific
got more
site
than
or
one
not.
purpose.
That, I think if we're talking biometric scanners, I don't think that's exactly what you're saying.
I didn't say
but
biometric scanner, I said RFID scanner.
in any of those type of things, you're talking about additional costs, that's probably not built into that system.
Does it currently keep track of entrances, like the
It'll-
card that
it'll
is
keep track
flashed?
of- exactly.
Who came in?
The reason we don't typically do, and I'm very comfortable talking about sensitive compartmentalized informational facilities, which are SCIFs in the military, you don't scan out of those as you go in and out of those. You may have a check-in or a sign-in book to something to that effect, but it's mostly for the security of classified material. We don't have riots, hopefully, at 63 Spalding, and we don't have classified material. Those high level of need for that, I would opine that I don't think that that's driving a need to address towards that. The water plant does have a check-in, check-out board, because if there is a chemical release, they do want to be able to take accountability of who's checked in. And yes, there is a frustration. You check in, you scan your badge to go in, why do you not go out? If part of that is to help identify, are there people on site? It's just this, it's probably the more cost-effective and reasonable approach to say, we want to know who's potentially on site and be able to confirm they're called up, said, hey, get out of there, the alarm's going off, what are you doing in the bathroom still? Rather than it is a true check-in accounting mechanism, just because there are associated costs, and then staff work to make sure you keep up with that.
In the computer system, when they leave home, they sign out? Is that typically what, your Paycom?
Paycom, they typically have to go to their digital footprint site, and like I said, I'll have to check off the top of my head. I don't know of many folks who are non-exempt, meaning they're hourly, not salary, just for public sake. If you're unfamiliar with the terms, who don't have a physical location that they would have to be on the job site where they're coming in and out, even if there was the snow day. And then there's the mission essential for those who have to as well. So that's where I'm.
You're saying hourly people check in and check out?
So when we're talking about the person who works from home, more than likely has that option, more likely exempt. There are maybe a couple exceptions, but I'll have to check on it. So their ability to check in and check out, like that's tracking where they're in, and they have to be within that digital footprint to check in and out.
There's got to be there's got to be a certain level of trust between the board and the district manager to handle the business of the Metro District.
I agree with that.
I would refuse to spend money on some sort of security system to track people and where they are. I would absolutely refuse to do that. I don't think that's the best way to spend taxpayer dollars. Now, I think as a board, we can request, how often does this happen? How often are people working at home? Is it reasonable? As an exempt employee myself, it doesn't matter if I'm on the clock or off the clock, I'm always working, I'm always accessible. Even if I take an annual day, so I get a call or I get an email, I'm answering it. I don't think we need to be this nitpicky. Now, if there is abuse, then absolutely we can question it and say, hey, I saw this, can you explain it? But that's where it should lie.
Right.
I don't think we should get into this at all.
Yeah, that's the question I have. If there's something that's being abused on it versus on this day I came in, you asked the question, hey, this is what I saw. What happened on that day, so on and so forth. Maybe you didn't tell us the early release, but at the same time, how often is that happening versus where the abuse starts? So sometimes I've heard on several occasions where people haven't been able to access during hours that were properly stated for the office. So those are the things that we like to look at or have addressed. If that's the case, why aren't people in the office at the times indicated?
There wasn't any exterior signage either telling the public that we're at an early closure. And what time did you do that?
Those are fair questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I sent the email
But
out.
that's an email,
Yeah.
That's not.
No. A sign on the door.
No, I
You
know.
walk up to the door.
No, but that's a question you can ask me, email, hey, I saw this, could you answer? Or let the board know what's going on.
Well, no, it's not just for the board members. It's for the general public that walks up and expects it to be open until 5 p.m.
No, we get that.
No, he specifically said for the board.
If I could, I think just the conversation like we could have had, and so I'll share this, not about this specific conversation, but part of getting the packets early, part of having open dialogue with board members and department heads or myself, is that it's not to have conversations outside of the public meeting that can't possibly be brought there. For instance, this being brought up now, obviously we're talking about it. I don't think there's any issue that I'm having as far as defending or discussing what occurred. But I think the Vice President Axelrodi's point is that day of you noticing it, if you had sent me an email or said, hey, I'm curious why this happened, this is my experience. Happy to have that conversation for you, and I don't mind if we say, okay, that makes sense or doesn't make sense. I still want to raise it up and have a discussion during a public session, so that way we can talk about it with the public being able to hear and understand what happened. Absolutely fair.
My only thing is I haven't heard anything from the public. I just known that there has been times where it's been closed. I haven't heard specifically from the public. It's more like the board members have said it to me.
Gotcha.
But as far as the public, I haven't had anybody voice their concerns about it being closed at that time. But if there is this question, yeah, I'd be more than happy to ask you that privately. Just say, hey, what's going on? And then, hey, we'll address it in the board meeting, saying, hey, this is what I saw. These are the things we're concerned about, and we'll try to mitigate it.
And figure out a way to communicate to the public if that's the.
Right,
that's
yeah,
concern.
and signage, if something happens, it doesn't get out to the public, you have somebody put a sign saying, hey, we closed down early for, probably the storm that may or may not happen, so on and so forth, or weather report. But it is, there is some discretion, I get that, but at the same time, we gotta be careful not to abuse it.
Of course. That's fair.
I would like to raise one thing that we've talked about also, Christian, is that the admin building is coming to a crucial juncture as far as design for size, which incorporates the work from home policies. If you have employees that are working from home more often than not, or can share an office with somebody else that's working from home, they can alternate. Anyway, what the crux of the matter is, do you design a building to create offices for everybody, or do you design a building that can be used by everybody? Offices can be shared. The question is, if we're designing a 7,000 square foot admin building, do we need a 7,000 square foot admin building if we're gonna continue the practice of work from home? And that's another discussion that needs to take place. the private sector offers work from home for a various number of reasons. They can garner people from all over the country to fill a position that they may not be able to access with somebody in their location. There's obvious benefits for people to work from home, for the companies, but there's also benefits for the people working from home. And so I think we really haven't broached that subject. For instance, people that work from home don't have to commute, so there's savings there. They can, there's a lot of things that they don't have to do. And there are jobs that we have that can, for the most part, can probably work from home. IT probably needs to show up once in a while to make sure the computers are running, but with the accessibility via computer, that's, easy for them to do. So there are positions that can be work from home. I'm not necessarily against that as long as the productivity stays the same. We don't have, the benefit for somebody to work from home is whether they admit it or not. I know a lot of people say that they work harder from home, but it also gives them the benefit to do things that they can't normally do when they're at the office. I'm gonna put in a load of laundry. I'm gonna do this. There's benefits, and they just need to be balanced so that everybody prospers from that and everybody benefits from it. So, with that said, with the admin building, we need to really think about, do we need to spend that much money, or what size building do we really need?
You mean how many office spaces?
How many offices do we really need? And we've talked about it.
Yeah, can I share mine, as far as our conversation where we've had?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a fair question. I think both things are fair. What is our model for work from home and evaluation of it? We have an existing policy that's probably carried a couple board generations that we have just maintained. We have not done extensive analysis or prompting to change it one way or another. I think we've kept it as is because it at least seems to be working. It doesn't seem to be major abusive system from our experience. And it doesn't seem to be trending one way or another, but it is something I think you're absolutely right to evaluate further. Is it something good where it's at? Should it taper back? Should it taper forward? Based on market competition, talking about the positions themselves and what's fair and equitable. The administration building, we did have a specific conversation during one of the early committee meetings where it came up. Hey, just for everybody's awareness and the public, when we did our square footage assessment, the old admin building plan, meaning what was going on 20 East Civic Center Drive, and even previous to that on Spalding, had 15,000 square foot. We took a step back and evaluated how much do we actually need, what's our ideal for exactly what our footprint is now, with maybe just a little bit of modularity or growth potential, not a lot. I'll talk about one or two positions. And what's Christian's, and I say Christian's draconian model of how do you make it the least amount of square footage that gets the job done. And we found out that number is about 10 to 12,000 square foot. 10,000 if you were willing to commit to remote work for quite a few people and rotate them in so that way they have a workstation, a touchdown, someplace to be able to work. And what say, hey, these are reasonable positions we normally expect to have their own offices, a director of finance, a district manager, what's that look like? So that's where that 10 to 12,000 square footage came from. With 63 Spalding, and that includes the boardroom, that includes the conference rooms and everything with it.
Sorry.
Distracted. When we talked about 63 Spalding, which we purchased, that's 5508 square footage. That leaves on the hook for 5,000 to 7,000 square footage. That's what's actually, I believe, in the scope of work when we're talking about the admin building. It's to either achieve the full, what we have now, or potentially hybrid, more models for remote touchdown. I think it is a conversation for the board because in that committee conversation we had, and if it's okay to say, I think it came down to a Director Pasternak, President Vickers, as far as conversations bringing this up. We mentioned, or at least I mentioned, this is just an opinion, very supportive of remote work because I am that anecdotal person who'll tell you I get more work done if I'm working behind a computer from home. I'm not saying as district manager always, but if I actually have tasks to do. There's value to coffee talk or water cooler talk, but it's also distracting. And sometimes you get value when you have information sharing in those moments. Sometimes you get distracted because you found out what somebody's weekend was like and conversations towards that. I'm not knocking people who enjoy that. I think it is a very good and healthy human thing to do. But I do find myself being able to do that, and finding a balance of the two is pretty valuable. So during the conversation, I think you brought up, should we consider more remote work if it would help reduce the amount of office spaces, the cost, because that's less square footage. And I think I honestly support it. I was like, if you ask me, I'm supportive with that. But I did also share that the problem with it is that you're planning for the least amount, you have less room for growth, and the potential for the policy to change. And I don't think we talked about it during that committee assignment, but for everybody's edification, we've had it where COVID did happen. There was commitment to remote work, there was flexibility, there was all the things that happened. And then we started seeing the end of that. When that happened, and I don't remember specifically which board it was, there was a call to bring everybody back to the office. And that came with, we didn't have the space for everybody to come back to the office. And people got creative, trying to fit people into the same cubicle. And so what I become nervous about is, if we plan for remote work and we build a building to that space, that's what we're limited to. And if we ever get a policy change or any shift, we don't have the ability to move without leasing more space, building more space, or creating more rotations for it. And I think that conversation came out as, it may be better to have it and make another use for it if we don't need it for the remote work, than to not have it and need it in the future. And that's just sharing what that committee conversation kind of looked like. I don't think it's the final direction of this board to necessarily say that this is going to be the scope, the design, the floor plan, so that, to your point, is something still up for discussion.
Yeah, and so I question the growth. Unless we take on more services. Right now, we have fire, we have water, sewer, and parks and rec, and administration. We don't have streets and roads, so we eliminated 15 positions.
18. Well,
18
repurpose 11.
positions. We haven't taken on more services. So growth, unless we do something major as far as taking on other services, I don't see that in the admin side. We may have to hire more water and wastewater people, but they're not gonna be an admin.
So you bring up a good point, and something we have been evaluating with our master planning. If we go to full build out of the district, even if we keep the same services, fire, water, wastewater, parks and rec, limited covenant enforcement, adding the firefighters that support the entire district or try to make NFPA standards, support having the C&D operators, the plant operators that may be necessary for maintaining all the current services, increases our FTE count, which then conversely, if we have more FTEs, we may need more support for those FTEs. There's a balance. It's not one person comes in, we get a one admin person, but let's say every 100 employees, there's another HR representative. That's what would justify those growths. And those are the things we are looking at. We're in the draft phase of that, but we're absolutely trying to identify.
Aquatic centers growth, adding more parks to the Pueblo West is growth.
But they're not gonna be in the admin building.
No, but as you mentioned, you might need people that do the administrative stuff in the background to support the.
So for instance, if we didn't have a location for facilities, which right now, the facilities folks are in this building, and they're contemplated to go into 79's building, Spalding, while also looking at 529, which is the old fire station too. Even those folks support personnel. There might be more of them to support more facilities that are being developed across the district. Again, it's not a one-to-one ratio, but over time, if we get to 60,000, let's say, very max of Pueblo West population, the services grow with it. The support for those services on a ratio amount will grow too. So that's where those positions could come from. It's long-term. It's not saying tomorrow, next year.
I remember us having a conversation, this was almost 3 years ago probably, when we first started talking about which building to purchase for the admin building. We looked at the a full office space versus what do we need at bare minimum if we did a split ratio of some people working at home or some hybrid model. And I think at that time, we were all of the opinion that we'd like to see as many people working at the office as possible, just from the accountability standpoint, but I don't know what saves you in the long run. I don't know, working at home versus the cost of a building, I'm not sure.
I don't know either. In the research that I've done, the limited research I've done so far, it's kind of split 50-50 in benefits. But the one thing that always comes home to me is that private corporations private companies are hinging on profits. They do things to make things more productive and less costly. government sometimes loses sight of that fact because government is a consumer of money. We live on extracted taxes that are not generally voluntarily given up. They're extracted by some force. And I think there's more, in my opinion, there's a little bit more responsibility in that arena, is to really handle those funds wisely and properly. So if working from home, if we can, and the other thing is tracking, you know, we don't have a tracking device that really says we're really being productive, because we don't have a profit side to show that we're being productive. We have somebody's opinion that they're being productive, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody. I'm just saying government is different than private industry, and I think we need to keep that in mind when we implement policies and procedures. And you know, as long as you have people that don't abuse the system and are upright and trustworthy, is what we want to try to think everybody is. Working from home might be a better way to go, but not everybody can work from home. You know, I would be reticent if I thought that department heads should be working from home, because they have people that they need to have contact with, I think, daily. But there are positions that can do that. I'd like to see everybody working from the office, but I know some people want to work from home, so it's your job, try to figure that out.
That's fair, I appreciate it. I do think you bring up a good point, because we don't have a profit margin. We have almost like a subjective call to how we're doing and how well we're doing, a quality of service almost, like how well are our services applied and what is the feedback. It does open up subjectivity rather than easier metrics to identify, saying, yep, we know this is productive because it brings us X amount of money compared to working hours.
Excuse me.
That's fair.
We do have a profit margin in terms of cost savings. So when we don't exceed, when we have cost savings that improves our revenue stance, which then
We're not
right
in the
now
red.
we're putting that Tabor money towards the aquatic center that we have left over. Once that's over, then the Tabor money would be refunded to the community if it's not voted for again. But you know, as long as the government is diligent in what they do and they track their expenses and they try to save costs, then they're going to save the taxpayer money one way or the other.
I was gonna say that too, Brian. We do have and then we're not in red, you know. If we're not in the red and we're not spending more than we're taking in, and that is doing our due diligence to the community and the public. But we have to understand, we don't have an infinite budget, it's finite, and we need to make sure we're within that finite of income. And I think that's the way we monitor, and that's how we track it, and that we're doing a fine job, because as he said in the last meeting, we're not in the red. We're good so far.
Well,
and staying there.
But we also have 1% sales tax that
Right,
offset
that we have to
so-
get, right, and we're
All
moving
I'm saying is
to
that
get
that's
forward
money
with that, right. No, absolutely, and that's our job and to do our due diligence to make sure the community knows that and does their part to help out too. Because none of this stuff comes free, regardless of how they wanna see it, it's not free. We have to pay for it too. They want all the goodies without the monetary value to it. But as far as office hours goes, we do have salary, we do have hourly employees. There is a difference, and I would say, based on merit, and if they are trustworthy enough, and if that's your call, if they stay home and if they're viable to work from home, or however that's determined, if they built up the trust enough to do such things, and there's no, you know, discrepancy in their work ethic, so on and so forth. Hourly people are a little different, obviously. You know, they have a different job, different position, different duties and responsibilities. They signed up for that. That's what they have to do, you know. But again, it comes down to me. I'm okay with, we develop something, I don't wanna get too much into the weeds and that stuff, but at the same time, I don't wanna, if I start hearing the public complaining about the doors aren't open when they should be open, and nobody's in the office, then that's when we shouldn't get to that point, obviously. So.
All right. So, where are we?
I think I understand, and I'll play if want to take for the next strategic discussion at the next meeting, bring at least remote work back as part of, here's our existing policy, here's how it is in action, share a little bit about that, and at least open a discussion on it. Is there, the RFID, that system was the only thing I was unsure if that's something we wanted to explore, or if the board felt that's, oh, go ahead.
I would say it might be best to explore what options there are to track the work, like geofencing and things of that nature that don't cost a lot of money.
Okay.
And let me say one thing here real quick. My sister works from home. She's an underwriter. She cares for my mom in Edmonton, Kentucky. She got that opportunity to do that because somebody offered it to her, because of her outstanding work. But at the same time, you brought up some conditions, like, or maybe it was Bill that brought up some conditions. You ain't gotta drive to work, okay? Well, neither does she. So they renegotiated her original position, rather than be in a brick and mortar building doing underwriting. She can do it from home, care for my mom, who's 84. But they took away from her salary a certain portion, because now she's not incurring the expense and maintenance and fuel of operating a vehicle, along with the time that it consumes. But they're getting more productivity out of her. I'm not against work from home, but if we're gonna have positions that are work from home, let's designate them and say, okay, you're doing 4/10s this week. These 2 days you're working from home. These other 2 days you're working in the office. And then you have a shared workspace. Well, they do that up in El Paso County with their DHS personnel. How do I know that? Because my wife worked up there. Okay, so they'd have to get onto the computer. There's an app, and you go right in there, and it's shared workspace. And you have to designate when you're going to come in and occupy that shared workspace. And nobody else can go to that desk, that area, to work in that space. Just you. So there are opportunities to work from home. If we need to designate them and maybe create a little cost savings, because now we're not going to be paying the same salary for those who are driving to work, let's do that too.
Okay, so you're gonna work on,
We'll talk about remote work at the next one, and I'll see if we can't find options that will explore or identify productivity metrics, or at least check-in, check-out metrics for systems.
Yeah, I think if we don't have something to rely on as far as the discussion goes, this will just go for hours.
Fair.
So, let's bring to the table some ideas of how to keep things accountable and structured.
And we'll let you know if, we'll start the research. If for whatever reason we need another meeting, we'll let you know.
Thank you.
yeah, information is good. Aquatic Center discussion by Director Roberts and President Vickers. Go ahead, Director Roberts, you can start.
Okay.
And there's a picture there if you want it.
I think we can put it up there.
Do you have that picture?
This is what was sent to me. Is this not correct?
I'm trying to verify
no,
that's
they
the right design.
So this is the one,
Yeah.
the only thing that I think got added, there might be a flip of the pool itself inside of that, which we are in conversation with the designer to make sure that things we may have identified about like where the ADA and the ramp might be, if they need to be adjusted. I think they just added the slide and the diving board as visual representation, so I think everything else is exactly the same.
So what we don't have up there
We won't.
is the elevations.
So we did get, they did not send those, they're still working on the elevation, the outside
Okay.
perspective of it. And they found themselves in a situation, and this is for public's awareness and the board's awareness. They are going to sketch plan review this coming week. And there has been identified that the site location may be on a water line, so they may have to adjust and move to that. So they didn't want to provide that if it's gonna move after that
Okay.
either, so, just so you know.
Is that the regularly scheduled meeting, or is that the?
Sketch plan review is the
special one?
counties, that's the one with the county.
Oh, with the county, that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. All right, so this is for the community. This is, we had, 2 options on pool designs. This is actually option B. Okay, and this is gonna be over off of the Assembly Road and, what's the intersecting road?
Aspen Skiway.
Aspen Skiway. Over by Walmart, okay? We're looking at about 12,000 square feet, okay? And we got, facilities for showering, we got baby changing tables, we have ADA compliant restrooms and stuff, and, right now, this is our basic scope of work. There's a slide over here to the shallow, I believe it, yeah, the shallow end, okay? And then there's a kind of a tunnel slide, and all these are removable. And so is the diving board. They're all retractable, okay? So, this is our basic design of what you're looking at from above, if you're looking down inside the building. And, we've had, 3 or 4 design committee meetings on this already?
I think so, 3.
So it's moving right along, and I just wanted the public to know that this is what we're looking forward to. Doesn't mean all these amenities will be here when we get down to cost. We may have to draw back on something, okay? But either way, we're looking at an aquatic center, indoor, open 7 days a week. And it's gonna be a great addition to our community center, to our community. So that's all I have. And our next meeting is? I don't think it's on here.
Would you say we're still on track with the timeline that was presented to us?
Yeah, there's a schedule that they published. Last time, we haven't written any hard dates in there.
Yeah, there's some. So, and just to reiterate, so the slides, I think all of these toys are gonna be in as options, so as Greg said, if we need to cut back on some cost somewhere, we'll be able to, let's see.
Yeah, we may not have a meeting scheduled for this month, just to have that.
I think we're gonna follow
Meeting
after.
with the county.
Yeah, sketch plan review and schedule.
Sketch plan review is
Yeah.
next. But they did provide, they did provide a timeline of, right, it was October?
Yeah, I think they have it as far as the timeline goes, October being when we potentially could see, I can't remember if that was when the construction documents would be starting or complete.
You wanna throw that back in there, Bill?
Complete, I think. Oh, yeah, here it is. No, that's not it. Anyway, I think they're on schedule.
Yeah,
And we've had some really good meetings, some good ideas. We've tried not to over-inflate it, keep it simple, so that we can afford it and get it built. And we reiterate that at every meeting, keep the cost down, keep the cost down. So, we're trying to get it done for what we said we can get it done for. Anything else, Kristen, that you?
The question I just wanted to ask, if that's okay?
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Oh, no worries. So just, I've been sitting in the indoor pool design committee. I hear the conversation. I can very much support that is being said every meeting. And that the intent is to keep it cost effective, to be able to meet that intent and the threshold. one of the things that jumped out at me as we're going through is I know we've started a new contract, and I think it was 500. I apologize, I forgot the exact number, Bill, but I think it was
568.
Thank you. For what was approved in the design. That does not include the final parts of the site and the road improvements that may come, because they're gonna find out more about that in this, hopefully the sketch plan review. And so there will be a contract modification already, we've already talked about it, anticipated for that. Knowing that cost threshold as it goes up, a question came up as we were looking at this during the indoor pool committee is, we had the old design, I think about 60% complete. And knowing that some of our major cost saving approaches are the pre-engineered metal building, reducing square footage, and there's some things I think we have identified that would help save money there. The only thing I wanted to ask the board is, would it be worth asking the question to Essenza, could they take what they heard from us so far, utilize the old pool design, the phase one, just the indoor lap pool, and modify it at a reduced cost that will still achieve everything, because as we go through design and complete that, we're eating into the cost of the overall 6.2 million. And if we think of the 6.2 million as we're gonna lose, obviously, pay for design from it, there's gonna be the road improvements that we'll have little control over, potentially, what those could be, since it's gonna be a county dictation. Is it possible to save even more if there is a way to model that? Would they come back and say, yes, if we just take the old design, apply some of the things, and are able to move into that, we could save you X, 100,000 or 200,000? That was the question I was gonna ask the board, if they felt we should ask Essenza of that. And the best case scenario, in one way, is saying that, yep, that would save you X amount, or they say, no, we actually, because of so much that has changed, we really can't go back to the old one. But it was just a cost saving measure to potentially, hopefully reduce further, so that way we stay within budget.
You know more than I do, but I was under the impression that we actually didn't have a design of the old building. I mean, we didn't have a site, we didn't have anything yet. It was just a concept.
You had architectural designs of the facility itself for an old site. You still have to
on
transfer.
Spalding?
Yes, you still have to transfer that to the new site. There's still gonna be costs associated with it. But I don't know, because I'm not the architect, whether they could translate that faster in the same manner with essentially the same things we're trying to identify and save any money or not. So we wanted to identify if that's a question worth asking.
I don't think the question is bad, as long as it doesn't cost us any money to ask it.
Fair.
It's a fair question, right there.
Yes.
So, I mean, if we can say, in the saving money is a good thing.
Right.
If they can transition from that to this
You can save
pool
money,
and save us some money.
And I guess my question on top of that would be, are you trying to lean more towards the two-stage method in which we build this second, part two onto that, or?
No, I think if I understand from where we've talked about it, if we can facilitate that without additional cost, or as an option for the board to consider if it does come at additional cost, that might be the conversation. But my understanding is that we're adapting it to, it's a indoor pool.
Yeah. Because I think the community, from what I've heard, I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but, from what I've heard, not all the community obviously wants a pool. They would rather have other items, other indoor facilities available to them, because they're not interested in a pool. So from my perspective, why try to do part two of the aquatic center when you could do something else to satisfy more of the community's needs and wants?
I agree with that, because and that was kind of the idea of using, assembly for, that location, so we could do a complex of different things. In my vision, it was cheap, efficient metal buildings that can be designated for indoor fun or, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's my only concern, is if we go back to this and, I don't think, did we ever get any elevations of the old site?
I think you had stepped out. I did share that, they came back, I don't think they finalized that. And with, the sketch plan review coming up, our team has already identified that the site is on a water line.
Right.
So it's probably gonna have to move as well.
We're gonna move the building around.
So they were only able to provide this so far, because they know that's coming.
But I mean, do we have elevations with the old building?
Oh, I don't
I don't know, what I'm getting at is the windows, the
Right,
design
we
of,
talked
the
about
design of
panel
this
height,
building, we can cut the windows down, if they're too expensive, we can, make them shorter. There's a lot of flexibility we have with the one we're designing now. I don't know that would lend itself to change.
Gotcha.
by using their existing, but, I mean, asking the question, but
Doesn't hurt to ask, right?
doesn't hurt to ask.
Fair enough.
As long as it doesn't.
Yeah, we had some elevations at the last meeting, but not the finalized ones yet.
Fair.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll follow up and see if we can get a free answer.
okay.
And find out if there's anything that they have feedback for. If they say it's negligible or not, then I think that solves that. If they say there might be something significant in the hundreds of thousands more, then that's something we bring back to the board to let them know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay,
Any
that's
other
all I have.
questions, guys? Okay, next is water rate increase discussion.
So, in regards to the water rate increase discussion, it's in regards to the $40 million state mandated modifications that are coming forward. And I want to revisit that conversation because it was very short. And this was about a month and a half back in the meeting. I believe our previous director was sitting there, and Jeff D. Herrera is the one that made the statement. Can you enlighten us on those state mandated modifications?
Are you talking about the wastewater plant?
Yes.
Okay. What are you wanting to know about?
Well, because they said that right before we made a decision to pass the wastewater rates and the water rates.
The wastewater rates weren't adjusted, only the water rates.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes. But then it was brought up that we'll probably have to get $40 million in loans, okay, for state mandated modifications. And we hadn't heard anything about that until that evening. So I'm wondering what changed from our work session that was on that Friday to that Monday. So I would like to hear where these state required modifications are coming from. Do we have
Sure.
any documentation on it to support
Sure, I'm
the
sure
state?
Jeffrey can speak to a little bit more than I can because I'm still learning what's going on. But it's my understanding that the state has come back and said that we are pretty much at capacity for our wastewater treatment facility, and that we are going to be required through the state mandate and our EPA permit to increase the capacity, especially for future build-out. So that's probably where I don't know where the number came from. That's probably just a guesstimate at this point in time. You're probably looking at tens of millions of dollars to make sure those modifications take place and we're able to meet those requirements from CDPHE and the EPA regulations. That is going to be a requirement. And we're currently looking through the design of that process right now and where we need to go as far as construction, how we're going to handle that, where the money's going to come from. All those conversations are taking place, but nothing's been solidified as of right now.
So we don't have any solidified dollar amount?
No,
So where did 40 million come from?
I can't speak to that. I can't speak to where that number came from.
I would imagine it's at least 20 million.
It was.
Yeah.
The only number off the top of my head that we talked about is a $23 million
Was it 23 million?
wastewater treatment plant expansion. That's
Again,
not-
I would say you're talking tens of millions of dollars, but you're gonna need to have an engineer come in and make a design and go through everything that's gonna be required, what we can keep, what we need to preserve, what needs to be changed. All those processes need to be developed and continuing to work through with an engineer to get an engineer's estimate of what that project's gonna cost.
Well, when I hear
in that
millions of
process?
dollars, it's a pretty alarming amount. I mean, it makes people's ears perk up, wouldn't you say? So, just like I've talked about the swim pool and the aquatic center, I would like to see us be more proactive than reactive. Let's not wait till the last minute and throw an alternator on because my battery's not staying charged, to find out later that the battery's actually broke. It's not holding a charge.
They've been talking
See what
about
I'm
the
saying? So-
wastewater.
But, so on the wastewater side, I just want to make sure that we're staying proactive.
Yeah, and I believe we
Okay.
are. We're in
But
the
that-
process of working through that and trying, again, figuring out what we need to do to make sure that we're meeting the requirements of CDPHE as well as our EPA discharge permits. All those things are being discussed and transpiring. But again, I think it's too early in the phase right now to throw out a dollar amount. Again, I understand it's trepidation when you're talking millions of dollars, but you're also talking about a very complex system. A wastewater treatment plant, especially with the new regulations that are coming through with the EPA as well as the state, yeah, you're talking millions of dollars for construction costs to bring something current.
Okay, I would love to see some information on those state mandated modifications.
What's your timeframe, Jeffrey, as far as when do you think that, because isn't it 80% when you have to start the design?
90%.
90%? And
We're-
where are we?
We're at 90% almost.
We're at 90?
Close to releasing an RFP for the engineering portion.
Right.
For the second time. The
Right.
first time, you guys might.
With the UV lights and all
yeah.
that stuff, yeah.
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 So that system really only serves the people that are connecting to the service, correct?
Correct.
Do we know how many more lots we have available in, I guess
Yeah.
it's within the Spalding Circle, basically, right? And
We have that
then over by the
number.
fire
I don't
station.
have that with me, but I could furnish that to the board.
So would that be the amount of increase that we have to provide for?
Unless the state came back and mandated something else with the folks that are on septic systems,
Okay.
which is very possible.
So are we working up to capacity? Because, I mean, when I was out there for my tour, we had one pond shut down. There was a couple of motors that were disassembled or either locked out, tagged out. And, I mean, if we got both sides that are functioning, how could we be, and it's already there. I'm just trying to put two and two together here, so help me with this. We got that whole pond over to the left, closest to 50, is shut down, and every one of those, I think their pumps are locked out, tagged out.
Again, I can't speak to that. I don't know what you saw, what was transpiring
So-
at the time. You know, there probably could have had times down for maintenance. It could have been a low flow situation. For example, right now, we're kind of in a low flow
I can believe that.
situation. So, again, I can't speak to what was transpiring at the time. I do know that we're in a process now where the plant is starting to see it show its age with the UV disinfection. That's continuing going out. We just had a problem with our step screen, and that system's starting to go out. Some of the buildings are becoming dilapidated. So that you are gonna be required, because they are gonna come in and do an assessment, and they're gonna say, you are not meeting the current standards for wastewater treatment or meeting your permit regulations, and they're gonna force you to make changes. So I mean, that is what's gonna happen come down the road. I think we are on top of it, and we are saying, we understand this is what's happening, this is what's transpiring, and we are ahead of the game, and we are having those discussions. And we're talking about how do we want to proceed as far as construction? How do we want to proceed as far as maintenance? Do we want to build it for a complete build-out? Do we want to anticipate for folks that are on septic systems being tied into the system? I think we're having those internal conversations, and we can probably bring you more information as time comes about. But right now, I think it's too early in this phase to say it's going to cost X amount of dollars, because we just don't know.
Well, I'm just bringing up other things that we discussed. Welcome aboard, okay, but at the same time, you haven't had probably a chance to get your feet on the ground because you've been running. And I understand that, okay? But I don't understand why we got half of our system shut down there, okay? And we have motors or pumps that aren't being repaired.
Is that really what's happening, or is that your assumption?
No, that's a physical, me walked through and saw these motors with parts off of them.
That particular
And they said that
day.
we've taken this offline.
Are they still off?
I don't know.
Well, then that's an assumption.
But, no, it's not an assumption. I'm talking about the time of my tour.
Libby needs to be here, right? Or,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can, you know, we can definitely have Libby come in, or the Deputy Director of Operations can come in and speak to, again, my understanding, there's no pumps down, there's nothing's out of service, nothing is being, neglected or anything like that. We are at 90% of capacity on a daily basis. That's where we're at, and that's where their assessment came in at. So again, like you said, I can't speak to what you saw that day because I wasn't involved, but I can definitely get the information for you.
And it's been known for a long time that we need a expansion on the wastewater system. We're waiting on the capital to do so. We have the capital at this point, correct, for most of it? May need a loan to finish some, but
We do have some capital, but yes, my anticipation would, you would need to go out for financing to finalize the project.
yeah.
My concern is when I did my tour back in November, okay, that we got half the system not working. And I recommended that, okay, those things that are locked out and tagged out, they're still functioning, we need to test those quarterly. Why let them sit there and next thing you know, we go to turn the system on and the pump ain't working? Or the other pit with the scrubbers isn't working. So,
Maybe we'll get Libby here to give us an update on
that's the proactive part. Let's look at it as
wastewater.
far as hey, we need to make sure we got some preventive maintenance going on there. Things are getting fixed, parts on order. I don't understand why that whole site shut down.
Again, as far as I know, everything, I mean, the only issue that
I
I'm
just want some
currently aware of
practical
was
explanation.
the step screen having issues and the UV disinfection, which we're in the process of going out for contract on. But those are the only two things that I'm aware of. As far as pumps and any motors or anything like that, I'm not aware of that anything is down. The plant is at 100% operational status.
Well, we'll get Libby here.
We will clarify, to my knowledge, that is accurate, because I don't think it, just for an instance, those two pools don't operate at the same time typically. Usually one's on and one's cycle off, so
Correct.
there could be a number of explanations of what you experienced that day, not refuting that's what you experienced. But we can follow up and find out what happened and just get more details.
Find out. And your capacity is based on gallons? What you run through
MGDT,
there?
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna try so he doesn't think he's going crazy, because when I went through the plant myself and I got a tour, I was told that one of the pumps was down and they couldn't get parts for it because it's a European pump or something. Like, there's 3 of them. One of them's down and not operational, so they operate off of 2 of them because they can't get the stuff from the European parts or something like that. That's what was told to me when I went through the tour. And they said they, a lot of the stuff is either on back order. Now, I don't know if it's got fixed since I toured the plant, but that was one of the things that was relayed to me when I did tour the plant, that there was one of those things that was not operational. So I don't know if it got fixed since then. But
Sounds like
I'm just saying, so he
Yeah.
doesn't sound crazy. I
No,
was told
no,
the same
fair
thing.
enough. Like I said, I definitely can have Libby or Kevin come in and give you an update of the status of the plant.
Right. So I'm just saying, when I got a tour, it was said that they're from Europe or something and couldn't get parts. And one of them's down, so we're operational off of 2
When was your tour?
when I first got here.
Back in June?
Yeah, around that time. Anyway.
Let's move on to resolution approving the amendment to renew the district's on-call electrician agreement presented by Michael Winters.
Good evening, President Vickers and board members. Michael Winters, Procurement Manager. Today I have a resolution to approve an amendment to extend our on-call electrician agreement for INC Power Electrical. This will just run through this year. We did an RFP at the end of 2024, then signed them to a contract 25. This is a renewal for 26. This service is an efficient pathway for staff to contact the selected vendor to do a variety of work regarding electrical services for infrastructure repairs and maintenance. And it's district-wide. Anybody in the district can use it. That's how it was bid out. And then we'll just be glad to answer any questions, and I do have a resolution prepared for the board to take action on if you guys wish to do so.
Everything looked on the up and up to me when I read it earlier, Mike.
And this is a one-year contract with a 2-year extension?
It'll only be one more year after
One,
this.
a total of 2 years,
Yeah,
excuse me.
yeah. This is just for this year, yeah.
The only question I had was their certification. Let me see if I can find it.
While he's looking for that, what's the benefit of signing this versus putting it back out to bid?
It looked like their certifications were ending.
You could, so we bid it out with the intention to renew. I would say you could put it back out. It might be a gap in any work they're currently doing. I wouldn't want them to like start anything new.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It had the master electrician, the journeyman.
Yeah, there are 2 journeymans, right? How much money a year are we looking at as far as typically what the electrical contract uses?
District-wide, approximately 200 grand.
And they bid this based on hourly rates, and you had other respondents?
One other, if I remember correctly.
How are they going to handle, so Pueblo Regional is no longer doing electrical inspections with the county's new building department. I believe electrical inspections are gonna be handled by the state electrical inspector. So, is that gonna have an impact on us?
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to.
Because I don't believe they've hired any electrical inspectors. They were gonna use plumbing, state plumbing and state electrical. So, is that what you remember?
That's what I remember.
So it's, you saying it's gone from the county to state inspectors now? Is that what you're?
Yeah, since the county doesn't have their own inspectors, the only people that inspect would be the state licensed inspectors, which are a little harder to get.
Right.
That's no bueno.
Yeah, I was just looking at the timelines and it'd be in 2026 and their certification ends in 2026 and.
I think I attached, that might be the original certifications they submitted with the RFP. I can verify and have them give me updated verification certificates. Okay.
And we will find out about the service contract for the state and them going over the threshold of having to rebid stuff, concerns me.
Yeah, I can.
That would potentially lock people out. But I'm happy with this. I think their hourly rates are good,
Yeah, they were really good.
so.
Yeah,
As long as they didn't change.
Yeah.
not that I'm aware of.
On this one, it says their license expired on 31 December 2024. Do they got a new one?
That's what I need to verify. I think I uploaded
That's
the
what
wrong
I
one.
was talking about.
Yeah, and I can verify that if you want.
Even though those individual ones show what is it, September the 30th, 2026?
I think so.
But this is a licensee.
Exact.
For
Yeah.
the actual,
Everything else was on the up and up.
Are those licenses that are written by the Pueblo Regional?
INC Power LLC.
I believe so.
They don't mean anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're not licensed by Pueblo Regional.
That was
It's
my,
not here
okay.
anymore.
That was my second question, but I couldn't find it.
What's the updated information presented to us?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we're not comfortable with approving resolution at this time?
They're not gonna do business, I mean,
I know.
Well,
they're gonna have licenses.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but I would
Can't be
still like
electrician.
to have it on file properly.
As
Yeah.
long as we get the stuff before we ratify
Yeah, I can come back.
before we consummate the contract.
Yeah, I can get
How
it.
much time we
before-
got?
What?
For what? Time?
Is there a lapse? Are they gonna,
I mean, I would bring it up next meeting. No, I mean, I think we've only had them out once this year for UV-related reasons that I've been aware of.
Two potential paths here. If feel comfortable to approve, understanding those identified areas are confirmed before any contracts are signed, you can make a motion to do that and approve it tonight.
Yeah.
As long as Mike's comfortable with that, because it is a discussion item. It could come back, but if you feel comfortable doing it, you can make that motion with everything stated here, confirmed prior to approval.
Might as well wait.
And find out that you made the statement that you'd have to check to see if their rates are the same, so.
Yeah, that would be
Find that
preferred,
out.
Yeah, and they had signed, I had them sign the amendment with the rates, so I assumed they would have let me know, but I'll double check.
Yeah, double check that.
Yeah.
It wasn't on the amendment, so. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, public comments.
Oh, hang on.
The consent agenda.
So, just as a quick reminder, we are at section L.
Oh, sorry.
This is consent action items. What we'd be looking for the board to do is make a motion to approve every item except L1 on the consent agenda to move forward. And if motion approved, then all those items will then be approved. We would move then into section M, public comments. If there's any item that needs to be discussed or taken off, then it has to be identified now.
So you're not saying we need to itemize the motion to
No.
approve the
No.
consent item?
It's just a
Okay.
consent.
All right.
One question I have is on the lease agreement for the parcel that never mind, wrong thing.
Sure.
I'm good.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the consent action items as presented.
Second?
I have a motion seconded to approve the consent action items. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'm just gonna ask this question, Christian, would you think that it would be prudent at the next meeting, whether or not there is something in the consent agenda that the board members wanna get rid of, or do you just wanna wait until we get to this point and ask that question then?
So to talk about the next meeting, we did have a conversation about changing, and I was gonna talk about it during directors and district manager comments, and get some feedback on it. The potential for, instead of doing discussion and consent action, is to merge it into business items. Business items would then be, you might have a strategic discussion on an item. Otherwise, everything is going into that as a, hey, we are ready to discuss and action on it tonight if the board is comfortable. Meaning that the board can review, discuss, they'll have the packet ahead of time, just like they do, to be able to ask questions or understand the material ahead of time. And then make a motion, it can be discussed, just like as Sturgis describes, and then it can be acted on. What that would then do is we'd have to take, I know this gets complex, but take consent agenda and do it with something else. But if we keep with the current model, to your point, we're gonna change that approval of agenda to have a clause there to approve the consent agenda item, so that way we know up front, is there gonna be anything that's taken off?
Okay, just so that we know that if there's something that we wanna remove, at what point in the meeting do we do
Yeah.
it?
We wanna know
Before
up
we
ahead.
approve the agenda, right?
Right.
Yeah, we'll wanna know it there, because that way we know that staff are either gonna prepare that item for the next meeting if it's pulled and tabled, or be ready to discuss it once it comes up.
Okay, fair enough. Now, public comments.
We've had none submitted. Is there anyone in the room? Mr. Joe Mahaney would like to make a comment.
Good evening, Joe.
Good evening. I have several things of interest to me. The discussion on office hours. Let me start off by saying, if I was an employee of the district and I heard on the radio in the morning that all non-essential employees would report at 10 o'clock in the morning, I wouldn't even think about whether I was non-essential or essential. I'd be the first one to work in the morning, because I wouldn't want anybody to think I was not essential. Now, for the kind of pay that people draw, they're essential or somebody should take a real good look at what's going on. Now, office hours, we had a situation where there was a self-nomination for people of the board. And it said, nominations will be closed at 5 o'clock on a given Friday in February the whatever. I had a person tell me that they couldn't decide whether they wanted to run for the board or not, but they were currently working on another project, doing something else. So they finally decided to self-nominate. They went over to the office about 4:45 and it was closed. Now, if you're going to post something till 5 o'clock, you better have the damn door open, period. Now, if you're going to have one of these, we have a severe storm or something, of the 20 or 30 or however many people work in that office, at least you can have one person there stay till the office hours are complete, answer the phone. There could be an emergency where somebody noticed that a water line broke or something and they don't know who to report, and they're driving by the office and they go in there and it's closed. Post office hours and keep them, no exceptions. Now, the water department, their people, they're essential employees. The fire department, they're essential employees. They go to work. They get there on time, and they have to, if their situation is traffic or something that might cause them to drive more slowly, then they start a little earlier, but they get to work on time. And the person that they relieve doesn't get to leave until they show up. Okay, that's my point on that. The water dedication thing kind of bothered me, the way that as I understand it, where they're proposing if you use too much water, they calculate the end of the year and then they send you a bill. That's a bureaucratic nightmare to do it that way, and it's not effective. What we need to do, and I've submitted it several times, put another tier on the end. The big problem with water usage is peak demand. Now, if everybody's watering their lawn, or it's a real dry year and we're on code 3 or whatever they call it, situation for water conservation, the rates are going to double already in certain cases. So just put another tier on the end. If you use more than 50,000 gallons a month, put a rate on it to where it's punitive, not just prohibitive, punitive. And people will start cutting back. But if they don't, you'll generate enough additional income. The people that are causing the need for the additional capacity are the ones that are going to pay for it. So just do it that way. It's very simple. It's real easy to do. You don't change the billing. You don't add a person to add up everything at the end of the year, and then find out somebody's going to stop and not show up anyway, or they'll change their business and go out of business, and how are you going to bill them for it? What are you going to do? Our only recourse when you don't pay your bills, they cut your water off. So just put it on the end, make it punitive at the end. The lady that has, every time I go to a meeting, she's here complaining about the same problems with her roads. I went out and suggested, and Christian, if nobody else could do it, I know you can do it. Take your phone out there and give her GPS coordinates to the foot where these potholes are. The direction she gave off of Joe Martinez, well, you drive up down Joe Martinez and not find any potholes. You have to go off at a certain place and go back in and whatever, and then find the two streets that she's talking about. If you can't do it, have somebody go out there and help her. It'd be so simple, just your phone will do GPS coordinates within a foot. Then the county has no excuse. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, next is, the board member, district manager, closing comments. Chris?
I don't have any.
Potter?
The only thing I have is, had a few people approach me and ask me and start, I guess it's starting to get around, but the fees for the water lines up to the meters.
The dollar?
That we did, that was voted, not we, but the previous board had voted to move forward with and making them pay for a fee for the why are we paying for the stuff that's not their responsibility to fix?
I can answer that if appropriate. So based on our old bylaws, it was their responsibility to fix. So if it was anything that, I believe from the meter all the way to the main, essentially if there was that break, they were responsible based on the bylaws, the old, all the way to the current ones, until this system became how we approached it, because previously there was no dedicated revenue source to make sure that we were covering those fixes, since it was on the property owner. When that was approved, that, I think it was $1, I was double checking, that was based on an estimate of how much we may see in expenses for per incident and how many incidents we experienced in essentially a year. It was an average to be able to collect the revenue, to be able to address those and put it on us to be responsible for, and that's how we approached it, and that those coincided together.
Yeah, they were under the assumption that the water tap serviced that. You got the water tap, they served it up to the main, and anything after the meter was our responsibility. And then all of a sudden now we're adding more fees to them to, I'm just letting you know that people are starting to notice it, I guess, now.
Gotcha. And it's fair, because I think as people are impacted, they're probably bringing it up, but it was a pretty extensive conversation to explain at that time, so we're happy to revisit or explain as people have questions.
Right.
Because I think it was, if I remember correctly, modeled after the City of Pueblo, and the Board of Waterworks had a similar system where they charge, I can't remember if there's a $3 fee or not, they charge something and they took that responsibility, and that's essentially what we modeled it after, so that way we cover them.
Can we put that information back on the water bill like we did last time? Only not call it insurance?
What's that?
Only not call it insurance or whatever happened?
We learned a lesson.
That was the problem.
That was the problem.
And I think that's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roberts?
I don't have anything, do we have, with the exception of PFAS is in our water, do we have any?
No.
Pueblo County just came out with a new report saying that, they had elevated levels.
Yeah, so I did see the same report, but as far as we're concerned, we are considered non-detect in our last assessment.
I know you're just coming on board, everybody's filling your head with everything, right? Do you know that our wastewater system has a proprietary blend, which is exclusive to one vendor?
As far as our wastewater system is concerned?
Treatment.
Are you talking about the water?
Yeah, the water treatment, I'm sorry.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Is there any way to get around that, so that we're just not obligated to one source in case they run out or
I
something?
think we've had a discussion about that, and the water treatment supervisor is trying to work through that. As of right now, I would say I think our only option is the proprietary blend that we're currently using. But I think the water treatment supervisor has taken that under consideration and is trying to work out something else that might be in the best interest of the community. But knowing that these chemicals are very few and selective, it gets harder and harder to take those out to bid and find folks that provide those type of services.
I know.
I'm just speaking from previous experiences.
And I know when the water supervisor spoke last time, he said there's certain state requirements and stuff where they have to go through a testing period.
Correct.
To get those new chemicals online and certified.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm just planting that seed, brother.
Yeah, and I think he is working through that and has taken that into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Time spent.
You're done? Okay, I just want to mention one thing. and that is, let me pull it up here. Sorry, I had it.
Slim Jims are no longer authorized here.
I'm out. Anyway, I can't find that, but, so, Desert Hawk update. We had a meeting last week, I believe, what day was it? Friday?
You do have committee reports. I don't know if you wanted to wait.
Oh,
but-
okay. Okay.
Sorry,
so
I didn't wanna.
That's where I wanna go. So I don't have any other comments, director's comments.
Can I share
So-
that for the district manager?
District manager comment?
You wanna take it?
You usually go, no, you usually go to me first. I was
Go
like, all right,
ahead.
he'll come back.
Go ahead.
I apologize. I just wanted to ask real quick, feedback on tonight's order of meeting, if there was anything noticed, if we like the general flow, if there's anything, quick feedback, not to belabor that point.
I'm happy with it. I'd like some context for items that are requested to be on the agenda, rather than just a plain comment that something needs to be discussed. I'd like some sort of note or presentation as far as what the information is all about.
So I think that actually brings to the second point I was gonna ask feedback on, items that are requested to be on the agenda. When we get it from a board member and ask this to be on the item, we will typically try and reach out, just ask, hey, is there any additional information that you would like us, or is there anything that you share with us that we should be prepared for? But our typical practice is whatever as a board member you ask, so long as you do it ahead of time, we put on the agenda, and if there's nothing discussed about, hey, I want Karen to come and present on this, or I want this, then we typically just label you as the presenter, and it's not good luck, but we do like to understand that that's probably your responsibility to be able to discuss. So I was gonna ask for thoughts on it, because this one, I think, noticed as far as discussion, we obviously wanna be prepared to support and be able to contribute to the conversation. And we don't wanna leave you hanging if you ask something and you're looking for something specifically for us, so to that point, I would probably open up for a board discussion on how they would like that to be approached, or if it's something we revisit and discuss further. Because I think we just shared, as you asked those items on the agenda tonight, we added you two. The indoor pool one was pretty easy, as it was asked for, because, hey, we had something to present. But some of the others, we weren't essentially the ones guiding
I
it.
did provide content to Bree in text message, because she asked specific questions about,
So I did
those.
provide that, but
but it's not on here.
No, and I wouldn't screenshot your text messages, but it didn't state, I will just say, it didn't state like maybe specific examples besides just the main topic you're wanting of who should be here with certain info. Like we could have had Libby here, or, you know, things like that might have been helpful for us to know ahead of time, just a little bit more context. But I did provide the text though, where you said what you were looking for. It just didn't have a lot of in-depth
Yeah, so-
description.
So like
there
on
was-
the,
well,
on
we-
the,
oh, go ahead.
on the water rate increase discussion, my first email included the new director over the water enterprise and Jeff D. Herrera in the email. Okay, and what that discussion was about was the rate increase, where we were talking about state mandated things, so. I mean, that content could have been included where it said in discussion. And then I think when I texted you, I could pull it back up and look at it.
Yeah, I actually have
It was
the-
about snow days and stuff,
So this-
okay, and office hours. And I think we tapped on that in this discussion and then some, so.
So what we got in the email was revisit the water rate increases discussed with our new water enterprise director and Jeff D. Herrera.
Right.
Station 1 design update has been a couple months since our last update for the public. Aquatic Center design update has been a couple months since our last update for the public. And then a separate email, executive discuss about official office hours. And then Bree did share the text. She asked, do you have any more information on those requests? And just to clarify, I also, that same day, I think asked, mine's a lot lengthier, I won't read it, but I just asked for additional information for the next meeting to make sure we were prepared. And then the text came back was, Bree asked, do you have any more information on those requests? So if staff are involved, they can be prepared for the discussion. The responses were state require water or wastewater improvements, and how many snow days are we willing to allocate affecting office closures and early office closures, and then emojis. So I think that's all we had as far as to work, and we were essentially prepared to be able to discuss maybe further, but we didn't have a good concept. We did bring, as requested, new director and Jeff D. Herrera. for the discussion, but what that looks like and what we're looking for, I think we're missing context.
Yeah, so I referenced school districts allocate so many snow days. This is up for executive discussion. Obviously, it was in regular discussion, but, yeah, and so.
So I guess for the boards, just ask the board, your thoughts about, as an item is requested, what you're expecting to see from whoever's presenting. Do you want it to be equitable? A staff member presents and prepares and discusses, is a board member who asks for an item equally expected? I think there's, for instance, if a question or something to ask for, let's say Rodney, or sorry, Director Potter, asks for an item, and says, hey, I just want to discuss fellow board members and an idea I have. I'm not looking for a large presentation. I'm not looking to dive into details. I just want to get an opinion of the board. That's essentially the extent of it. I would opine that that's not an issue, to have little to preparation for it. But if we start diving into the details, if we start looking at staff time prepared to respond to specific questions or provide information, that's where we would probably need more ahead of time to make sure we're prepared for that discussion. So I'll offer that to the board as far as how you'd like to see us moving forward.
I like the flow of it.
I would prefer as much detail as possible. I mean, what is the goal of the discussion? What are you looking to achieve? Is it just communication, or is it you want to find out some answers? And that goes to any of us. I don't know if it's an open discussion, should that be more strategic discussion versus discussion topic, whereas you mentioned you have that expectation where you're prepared, you have plenty of information to present, or back up the request for information. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Well, I think it's fair for everybody to be able to bring a topic that they want to discuss, but if there's more information that's needed, then it can be asked for a future meeting, or, you know, we want Libby here, get that. I can see your point that I think the confusion might have been the water over the wastewater, but that's neither here nor there, but I don't want to deprive, my personal opinion is you don't want to deprive board members of the ability to bring something up in open meetings, since everything that we talk about should really be done in an open meeting. Yeah. And all these things need to be discussed, you know, to a certain degree.
And I'd also say, if the discussion seems like it's kind of, then that board member probably says, hey, let me get some more information on this, let me narrow this down, instead of this broad topic, we'll bring it back to the table and let's move forward, you know. So that way we're not getting hung up on the nuances of when we can be working on something else. If something isn't clear, then we make it clear later. That could be worked at later, so.
Instead of spinning our wheels,
Yeah.
you know, we want to be cognitive of everybody's time, of course,
Yeah.
but we don't want, I don't want people to be concerned about bringing something up. And maybe I should be more,
like if I have.
control the meeting to a certain degree.
If I ask about the fire station 1 or something, then I should be able to say, here's what I would like to see about it. And then that way the stuff is there. And if there's anything else that needs to be addressed or then we could either ask about it then or say, okay, we'll just move on with it from there. So, and I'll get the information later.
And sometimes it could be just a board member that hasn't been exposed to that information yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Stuff that, you know, Bill and I have gone through since we started that you guys haven't yet, or, you know, and Bill and I have been there. You know, when we first joined, I'm sure Doug and Joe, they're just like, they want to pick us up and slap us over the head, but, you know, it happens. But, I mean, it's just, the more detail I think you present, in terms of the request of having it on the agenda, I think you might even get your answer.
So look at it like this. I requested the Station 1 update, right? Well, without that, we wouldn't have, what transpired tonight wouldn't have happened, because we would have been going backwards, just like I said. Why are we going backwards? We already made a decision on that. So, with that being said, we were proactive.
That was
And
good. That was a good.
now from
that
this
was a good
day
call.
forward, we can move forward on that. And hopefully we're all on the same sheet of music, because I think all 5 of us were. So, something got lost in translation, but it's been handled.
Yeah, that's a good example. I can offer that one was, I think, tabled to the next one, and I would be interested if anybody goes back to the video to see if there's a difference, because I did check minutes, resolution, everything does
I
align
will
with where
watch
that
them,
came
'cause
from. 'Cause
I mean,
I do appreciate it.
otherwise
There was-
I'm completely
I think I remember something about.
brain dead
Yeah,
about that.
I-
because-
Yeah, we did talk about both options, but I'm happy if something got lost in translation, let's figure out where it was and just correct it for next time.
AI just told me I was totally correct.
I love asking it questions if I'm correct, it does help. The aspect of this, as we talk about it for items, I don't think anybody avoids conversations in the public or having them there. I think it does come down to a question of our purpose here in this meeting. Is it a business meeting to get job done? Is it a staff meeting to discuss things? There's a little bit of a balance where there are some things that come up in especially strategic discussion. But I would just offer that as a board member, if you find yourself questioning something and say, hey, I'd like to present this to the public, there's nothing wrong with also talking to us and share, hey, these are some things that I'm concerned about. I'd like to be able to be on the agenda and talk. And then just bringing all the information we talk about and reiterating in the public meeting. I think, as I think about it, a board member who identifies, hey, I understand this now and can explain it to the public, because it's respectful of their time, respectful of each other's time, respectful of everybody's time, could be a good model too. So it's not taking anything away. It's absolutely, if you bring something up and want information to discuss, and I think Director Potter's point of like, hey, as you recognize that the conversation's getting broader or it's getting more into the weeds, it's like, maybe we just need to focus on what we might be ready to talk about tonight and then say, hey, let's come back and these are a couple items I want to be able to address. So,
Weeds, I haven't heard that used in a long
Yeah.
time.
I'll
Sure.
work on, being more aggressive in keeping us out of the weeds.
No. But that was all.
Brian's gotta start.
Sorry, man.
That's okay.
Try to be, I don't like to step
I
on
like,
people's
you know, I
toes.
want people to be able to talk, but I agree, sometimes it goes.
On a completely separate topic, I do want to acknowledge that we did talk about the county, their $10.2 million deficit that they're trying to resolve. There are great challenges with it. I know that, as I understand it, what I've seen, they're working hard to be able to address those, not just for this year, but going forward. And I did talk with President Vickers a little bit about it. They're obviously in their position, and it could be history, it could be things that have happened, it could be some of it surprised them. I don't know the details behind all of that. I've heard speculation, and some things have come into the public session. I do want to acknowledge that that's going to make things in our relationship with them and collaborating. There are going to be challenges that arise. Knowing the position that they're in to make decisions, I only hope, and this is personal hope, that we exercise just prudence when it comes to interacting with them, because they are taking those steps that are probably going to help preserve their services for our community as well. And they have a lot of people that do provide those services. So it's always an opportunity to recognize your neighbor might not be doing as well as you are.
Or
It would be
Or
good
you're not in their
to
shoes.
be a little more proactive on our end to see, just because we know a lack of the services that they may be able to provide are going to affect our community members and our community in general. It's worth a conversation to say, what help can we provide in the interim?
Yeah.
Even if it's some sort of loan basis, because it's not technically our purview, but if we can support our community members for the time being while they're figuring this out, it might be worth that conversation.
I would agree.
Extend an olive branch.
Mm-hmm. Because either way, it's gonna affect us all.
Yeah,
And that's why I
How
have.
much support are we talking about?
not financial.
I don't know. I don't know.
Just want to clarify that.
Well,
Finances to do that. Do you wanna say something?
I wasn't supposed to say anything. I was done.
You're tapped. Okay, committee reports. Or first, are we done with that? Ms. Magnoni.
Good evening, Board of Directors. So this is a new format that I'm starting. I would like to get your feedback on it, but what I decided is instead of trying to list and figure out when each of you has a different committee meeting, I could list out the first quarter meetings and then who is the designee for those. So then you could look at the next date that's coming up of the meeting, and if a special meeting comes up, of course, I can add it on or an additional, but then this way you can see the meetings that are up. You can give the report as they come in for the meeting that it should be up. So I've put the first quarter meetings on so far. So then that way you can give your committee reports from there.
Yes?
I'm way done, because I just went, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Think of this as just an easier tool to be able to reference committee reports as you look at it.
Yeah.
Look for your name, look for the last time,
I like
recognize that you might have an opportunity to speak on that.
I like it. Thank you.
Thank
Where is that, where does that live?
You'll see it attached
It's in your packet.
at that item in the packet
Oh,
towards the end.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Okay.
And if I missed something, I apologize, but it should be on
Legislative call, is that in there?
Yes,
there.
January 29th, about 5, 6 down. So if you just want to start from the,
Well, I have, but it continues on until when?
Well, that one is just June through October, so it's just, that's usually when we have the budget committee.
Legislative, okay. January 29th. So is this coming out every month? Is,
No, well, I'll update it if you'd like, but I just put the first quarter, but yes, I'll attach it every month. And if there's updates to the dates or anything, I'll just take off January, and then I'll only have like February, March on there and keep going.
okay. So that's my confusion, is the Legislative Lobbyist Committee, or no, the legislative call, where's that at? January 29th,
Yes,
right?
and so that would have happened after our last board meeting.
But we have another one coming up, right?
yeah, you're right, there should be, they'll be added as
They'll
far
be
as,
added.
this is our first go at it.
Okay, because I have them on my calendar every week.
Every 2 weeks, should be.
Okay, my calendar has it every week, I think,
boy.
so.
We'll figure it out. But if you just want to start at the top, as far as like ones that have happened, probably with that Petco on January, that one might have been addressed, but the Aquatic Center Committee, January 29th. To be fair, you already gave an update, so you might be good on that. Next one would be PACOG, January 29th. What essentially this will be is a standard document where you just go from the last meeting
Okay.
to where you are now and just update off those.
Okay, cool. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm doing my training on PACOG right now. At least they're pretty good with their communication.
Okay, now can we go to
Are we not doing reports?
committee reports?
So, on the legislative lobbyist, I was on the call. I wasn't expecting to do this today, so I honestly I didn't look at my notes or anything from that.
I can help with it if you want.
Yeah, sure.
So I did jump on a little bit late, but they're essentially talking about some of the first bills. There's a dossier that has been provided, and if you haven't gotten, I'll double check, because I don't remember if I sent in the last DM update before the big one that came out. So you'll get it this week as well. There are only a slot of bills that come up at the beginning, and then there are more that get added over time. The major ones we're checking into, I believe, is one involved with wastewater, and then expecting that core one to be addressed, and that's the one that helps extend the timelines for people to respond. That's the big one that we're anticipating. There wasn't too much controversial that has come yet, but there are a couple follow-ups as things are being amended or proposed that have not yet been proposed yet that we're looking into.
Okay, good.
Is there anything that you can remember
Is the
that?
fire mitigation one on there? Or the,
I think so. Let me double check. And this may be let's do fire. Don't think I have one on there yet, so it might be one that's pending.
Okay.
Hasn't been introduced yet. Yeah.
Pueblos Chamber of Commerce meeting, they're usually on Tuesdays. We are not having the meeting tomorrow, because we are having our board retreat on the 21st. It's a Saturday. So I'll have something to report after that.
Okay, 6A Oversight Committee. We haven't had a meeting for that,
You're on Community of Architecture.
or Community of Architecture. They're still approving, I think they approved 3 new homes last week. Carl's just about done with the, committee guardrails document, so we should have that soon. No, I think things are going well there. Next meeting is, February 12th at 5:30, right here. The Desert Hawk, I do want to say something about Desert Hawk.
It's the 13th, right?
That, we
Next
had a
meeting?
meeting we had a meeting, what was Friday? The 6th? We had a meeting on the 6th, and,
Oh, no.
what's that?
Keep going.
Oh, the,
Was it on the 6th?
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
it was just a week ago, right?
It was January, ooh. Oh, yeah.
You guys
Oh, yeah,
had
it's
the-
Special meeting
It was on
Friday,
the 6th.
10 a.m.
Yeah. So anyway, we had the meeting, and the new manager for the golf course was selected. However, in transparency, complete transparency, that meeting was not noticed. Therefore, all the action that was taken at that meeting really needs to be redone. It's not really valid if you do things that aren't noticed. The public can contest that, and it gets nullified rather than wait until that point. I think it's prudent that we redo it. So we have a meeting the 13th of February when we will again revisit the manager's selection, and then go over his contract, hash out what the enterprise wants to present for a contract. Anything else on that, Christine? We've had an update on the pool.
That's it, right? Now we're in the future, so we're done.
All right,
We've been
anything
home.
else? All right, thank you all.
Announcements, right?
Announcements are the Desert Hawk Management Board meeting is 10:30 a.m. on the 18th, but also 10 o'clock the 13th, and we'll have a meeting, special meeting. February 23rd is Provost Board meeting at 5:30 here. March 21st is Kites and Coffee at the Civic Center Park. And March 24th is the Board of Directors Town Hall at the Pueblo West Library at 5:30. I hope to have a good turnout for that. Citizens have some questions. I hope they come and ask us.
I will not be there. I'm sorry. Actually, I won't be there for the, for that one, and then the board
The
meeting.
next board meeting, right? Second board meeting in March.
March 23rd, I will not be here.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
The motion to adjourn, all those in favor, aye.
Thank you.